Overheard boyfriend telling his friend he could never picture himself getting married. Where do I go from here? So I recently stumbled upon this subreddit and want to get a collective opinion about my situation. My 33 female, boyfriend 33 male and I have been together for about 3 years. When we first started dating, he said he was dating to marry, and we had a lot of honest, open conversations about wanting to build towards that level of commitment and partnership. In the years since, we've moved in together and supported each other through so much. As of late, I've been feeling a bit sad because 3 years have gone by and there's been no talk of engagement or marriage, which doesn't align at all with how adamant my boyfriend was about marriage as a goal when we first met. He would even often tell me how a little voice in his head was telling him just to marry me after we'd only been together for a few months, and other things that made marriage seem like a legitimate goal and priority, but I haven't seen that come into play at all. To make matters worse, I recently overheard him having a conversation with his friend in which he said, "I could never see myself getting married." This hurt me quite badly, but instead of freaking out or getting noticeably upset, I just asked him about it. I didn't admit that I'd overheard his conversation, but I did ask what his honest thoughts were about marriage and if his thoughts about it had changed over the years. He responded that he isn't sure he still believes in marriage and can't decide if societal ideas are making him feel pressured to get married one day, or if it's something he actually wants. I reasserted that getting married is a priority for me, and I fully intend to be a wife someday. He didn't really have anything to say to that. We walked away from this conversation very calmly, no heated emotions. But I think I need to leave my boyfriend over this. I'm also realizing that I have basically given him all of the benefits of being married without actually marrying him, and that this is no longer fair to me. I don't resent him, and I don't regret the ways that I've been able to support him, but this has included giving a man a lot of money over the years while he was struggling financially, which I did because it felt like the right thing to do, and because I thought that we were meant to be life partners. What do you think? Do I need to move on? And in the comments, Dolly My Folly says, "You're lucky you overheard what he really thinks. I would leave. Too many of these men who don't want marriage don't mind using women's time and resources. It's interesting how many of these men who don't want to be married are always out here draining some poor woman and taking advantage of the fact that she wants marriage. Let him enjoy being truly single and stop subsidizing his life." Mainly this. It's come to a point that women are so good at providing a happy space, a financial partner, and a warm body that men can't think of any good reason to marry them. Personally, if they don't think that their woman wanting to get married because it'll make them happy is a good reason, then it makes me question their love for that woman or if they really just don't want to owe her anything at all. I read a comment on some thread a while back that I liked. The commenter said in a very generalizing way that there are 2 types of men. One who wants, quote-unquote, to get married, and wants the whole husband lifestyle, and one who doesn't care about marriage. I also think this applies to women, but for the purposes of that other post, it was about men. I actually would add in a 3rd category of those who are outwardly opposed to marriage for whatever reasons. Fear from parents' divorce, against the legalities of it, etc., but when it comes to the 2nd category of a person who doesn't care, then I see it breaking down to those who will still get married because it's important to their partner, and ones who arbitrarily refuse. No real reason, but will lazily just not want to get married. It always seems like there's a part of them that just doesn't want to marry their specific partner at that time. Because if you really don't care either way about marriage, but are lifetime committed to your partner, why wouldn't you just go through with the marriage? My fiancé and I dated for a long time. I went back and forth on wanting marriage. He was fine either way, and I didn't know until more recently, but he mentioned he had started saving up for a ring about a year into the relationship. We've had the marriage lifestyle the whole time. He gets all of the benefits of being married already, but when I decided that I did want to get married, he was on board immediately, and we got engaged on our 10-year anniversary weekend. Ultimately, if it's important to one partner and the other partner doesn't care either way, then I don't see any reason to not just go through with it. If they're hesitant or refusing, then there's either deeper seated issues that needed to be addressed, or they may not be the right person for you. Yeah, I agree with the earlier comments. I think that it's very much lucky that she heard this conversation because who knows how much time he would have wasted going into the future if she didn't hear that. And if she wants kids, yeah, the clock is ticking, and wasting time with someone that is not going to commit to you, that wants the benefits of marriage but won't actually marry you, it's just not a good idea. We see people in situations like this all the time get out of these relationships that they're in. They hit 34, 35, they are married, and they have like 2 or 3 kids. They just speed that shit up. It's like, well, I wasted all that time beforehand, let's just lock it in. And you can say that they're settling all they want. Sure, I mean, maybe they are settling, but if they want marriage and kids, what other choice do these people have? There's so many people in this day and age that promise the world and back and string along someone because that person was very open and upfront initially in dating, but their partner that latches onto them knows everything to say based on those intentions to get what they want, but they won't commit to a marriage and kids. I think that's just incredibly cruel to string people along. And if your future goals don't align, why not just be open with your partner? Why waste even more time? Just doesn't make sense. Do you hate the person that you're in a 3-year relationship with so much that you can't let go of them? I don't know. Those are my thoughts on it. And now, onto the update. I left 4 weeks later. First of all, I just want to say thank you to the hundreds of people who commented on my original post and gave me their heartfelt opinions and advice. I didn't expect such a huge response, and I'm genuinely grateful. To make a long story short, I left him. The truth is, it's not just marriage that my ex was putting off. He continually made promises for the near and distant future that just never came true. From vacations to home renovations, and when I confronted him more directly about the prospect of marriage, he informed me that he didn't feel sure about marrying me, primarily because our families haven't met yet, and because I wasn't willing to buy a house together before we got married. He denied ever saying that he could never see himself getting married, but I know what I heard. How have your families not met and you've been together for 3 years? Is that a thing? Like, I get if it's long distance, but surely not. We had the buying a house together conversation towards the beginning of the relationship, and I was firm and clear that I didn't feel comfortable doing that unless I was married. In fact, I didn't think it was relevant to include it to my previous post because I thought it had been resolved between us. And I don't see why our families should meet if we aren't at least engaged, but maybe that's just me. We had other issues as well, which I won't go into too deeply. But over time, I've started to feel less like a partner and more like a housekeeper. My ex was very, very messy, and a frustration he voiced as we were breaking up was that I wasn't willing to pick up after him. I am not kidding. He used those words. I did my best to keep that house clean, but there are certain things that I would just give up on because it's frustrating to clean up after a grown adult who's throwing trash and clothing all over the floor and furniture. I felt very stung by all of this, and honestly, I think I deserve better. I did the math and learned that I had given him nearly $18,000 over 3 years, most of which went towards his mortgage. Yikes. He offered, without me prompting, to start paying it back, but I haven't started making those arrangements yet. I'm currently staying with my parents through the holiday season and will be moving into a new place in January. As sad as I feel, I also feel deeply at peace. My husband is out there, and I know that I will find him in the coming years. In the comments, Horror Friendship says, I see a pattern. He makes trash, he treats you like trash, he is trash. Good riddance to him. Find someone who values you. A frustration he voiced as we were breaking up was that I wasn't willing to pick up after him. Wait, what? Well, good job, OP, dumping this guy that dumps trash on the floor and gets mad at you that you don't pick up after him? Good grief. I hope you get your money back. What? I can answer this one. He wanted a literal bangmaid. I hate that word, but damn if it doesn't have its uses. OP, I feel you. I left my ex earlier this year. He's in his mid-30s, and he left trash all over the house. I had to repeatedly warn him to clean up. At one point, I was so frustrated, I told him it cannot seriously be that I have to remind him every day to do something that should come naturally to an adult human. No joke, his reply was, "We only have to do this because we're not wealthy. If we wouldn't have been middle class, we wouldn't have had to clean up our own mess." And mind you, this is a well-educated man with a graduate degree from a good university. My point being, I can't believe I had ever wanted a man like that as a husband. I thank myself every day for leaving him. You should too. There are guys out there who would gladly take care of themselves, and you. And OP replies, "I'm glad that you left. We are both stronger and better off for it." Looking back at the conversations and arguments my ex and I had about household chores, I now realize that what he outright said about expecting and wanting me to clean up after him was something that had always been implied, just lurking beneath the surface. He had very specific ways he felt things should be cleaned, but rarely, if ever, lifted a finger to clean himself. It caused the majority of our arguments. The other kicker I didn't include in this post is that he tried to accuse me of being the one who made the majority of the mess in the house, claiming that it wouldn't be so messy if I didn't live there, which I can confidently say is not true. It feels really bizarre to talk to grown adults with these kinds of attitudes, and I definitely am thanking myself for getting out. Oh my god, almost $20,000 in debt, and having to be subjected to the Bang Maid role for 3 years. I'd be running for the hills too, OP. But I'd also love to be a fly on the wall to see what his house looks like now that he doesn't have his Bang Maid. Very smart that you didn't buy a house with that guy. I feel like there was something in your brain that was like, I'm in danger. So good on you for that one, and good on you for sharing the story with us, OP. I very much appreciate that. Hope all goes well going into the future, and I'd love to know what you guys think of this one. Am I the asshole here for telling my ex-wife she cannot forbid me from walking her daughter down the aisle just because I cheated on her? My ex-wife and I divorced a couple of years ago. We were married for 14 years, and during that time, I also developed a strong bond with her daughter. However, my ex-wife and I divorced a couple of years ago after I cheated on her. I take full responsibility for it and don't really have any excuses for it. I still regret it to this day, and I know that it really hurt my ex-wife a lot. I really thought this would affect my bond with my stepdaughter, and I was even prepared for her to go no contact with me. However, it didn't affect my bond with her at all, and my stepdaughter said that it's adult business, and it doesn't change the fact that I've been a father figure for her for more than a decade. Last month, my stepdaughter told me she was getting married next year and asked me to walk her down the aisle. I was really honored with this privilege, but I asked her if her mum would be okay with it. She said her mum wasn't okay with it and didn't even want me at the wedding. I asked my stepdaughter if she was sure me being at the wedding wouldn't cause any additional drama, and my stepdaughter said that she didn't care what others thought, as she knew how much of a great father figure I was to her. I was really happy, but also emotional, and I said sure. However, a couple of days later, my ex-wife called me and told me that I shouldn't attend the wedding and that no one wanted me at the wedding. I told my ex-wife to not make her daughter's wedding about her and that it didn't matter what others thought as long as the bride wanted me at the wedding. I told my ex-wife that she cannot forbid me from attending her daughter's wedding just because I cheated on her. Am I the asshole here? In the comments, OP confirms that his current girlfriend is the woman that he cheated with, but he will not bring her to the wedding. Commenters tell him that he isn't the asshole, but it's still a hurtful situation for the ex. Agoraphobe961 says, "No assholes here. I get why the ex is pissed, but being a bad partner doesn't mean that you were a bad parent. That her daughter is so willing to ignore everything speaks both to your parenting and to your ex's. Fair warning, if you're still with the affair partner, don't bring them as a +1, if you do get one. OP should definitely arrive solo or with a family member, maybe a sibling. The fair warning is much of a decency, to be honest. Well, so is the bare minimum of not cheating when you're married, and if OP doesn't realize that he shouldn't be a cheater, then he clearly needs help to know what common decency is. I agree with this in all other aspects of his life, but it's her wedding, and what she wants for that one specific day should be respected. She's banking on the fact that they can be civil for one really important day. I hope she's right. Giag27 says, "Maybe I'll get downvoted. I don't know. But I'm gonna be honest, I don't necessarily think you're an asshole, but as a mum of 2 daughters, if they wanted their cheating stepdad to walk them down the aisle, I would be so hurt. I wouldn't say anything though, and my Italian family would so not take it well if you were at this wedding. Also, there's an irony to having someone walk you down the aisle who betrayed their own vows. What a slap in the face to the mum. This was my first thought. OP, a cheater, and someone who could not follow their own marriage vows, thinks it doesn't seem weird or hypocritical to walk his stepdaughter down the aisle for her own marriage. It's fucking weird as hell, and I'm shocked I had to scroll this far down to see it being mentioned. I think you're in error in your analysis of the facts. I think he does think it seems weird, as evidenced by the extensive conversation with his former stepdaughter about, are you sure this is a good idea and what you want? But he's recognizing that he should give the bride what she wants when she says sure. Also, as the fiancé of the daughter, what is she telling him by having that guy walk her down the aisle? I didn't even think about that. You know that in-laws are going to be gossiping. It's honestly a sad situation all around, and I feel for your ex. Her daughter is actively choosing her cheating husband over her. Why couldn't the mum have been the one to walk her down the aisle? I don't think Obi's the asshole for going through with it. I think the daughter is. I would never do that to my mum. I just wonder why. Was mum a bad parent, or was OP really that good of a dad? Does the mum regularly try to control who her daughter speaks to? These questions need answers before anyone can really go, the daughter is the shitty route. It may be like my ex-stepdad. My mum married him when I was 17, so our relationship was as a father-type figure, but he never really parented me because I was too old. My father was never in the picture, so it was nice having that kind of person who I genuinely liked. When they split up, I was in my 20s. I told him that I thought he was an idiot, but it didn't really affect our relationship. I refused to talk to him about her, but it didn't take away how close we were at that time. That said, my relationship with my mother was always complicated, and she never really carried much weight in what my plans in life were. As for my wedding, I walked down alone. I was my own person choosing my person. Nobody gave me to him but me. I don't know, after reading all these comments and taking these perspectives in, I think the daughter is a bad person because I think she is actively hurting her mother, who has done seemingly nothing wrong here. And you'd think if OP followed the same trend of finding excuses as to blame the wronged party, that he would have snuck some in there being like, oh yeah, well the mum was actually abusive, the mum actually never cared for the daughter, she was a bit neglectful in that sense, but there was never anything of that mentioned here. It seems like the short description was that, she was a nice person, she didn't deserve what happened to her, and that OP is actually somewhat of a voice of reason here, being like, are you absolutely sure? Are you sure this is a good idea? Because it doesn't sound like it, and I'm just trying to respect both of you. From the mother's perspective, having someone who betrayed their wedding vows walk the daughter down the aisle instead of her, I guess, that would be a really tough pill to swallow. That would really hurt, I'd imagine, and I don't think that relationship would be the same after the fact. I think that if OP's account of the situation here is true, that the daughter is the asshole, OP isn't technically an asshole for accepting it. I think it's a very much morally grey area. And I think that at the end of the day, the relationship with the mother between the daughter is probably never going to be the same. This is just such a wild thing to do. So not the asshole for OP, but you're the asshole for the daughter. And now, onto the update, 1 day later. Hey everyone, just a quick update. I've decided not to attend the wedding and walk my ex's wife's daughter down the aisle. I've read a lot of the comments which say this might severely damage the relationship of my ex-wife with her daughter, and that is the last thing that I want. I called my ex-wife's daughter this morning and told her that I wouldn't be able to make it to the wedding. She asked me if this was because of her mum, and I told her no. It was just that if I attended the wedding, I would be the focus of the wedding instead of the bride and the groom. She broke down in tears when I said I couldn't make it, and I felt really bad. However, I told her that my girlfriend and I would take her and her husband to a fancy dinner at a Michelin star restaurant sometime after the wedding, and she seemed happy with the suggestion. She then asked me if I'm marrying my girlfriend, and I told her yes. She asked if she could be the best woman at the wedding, and to be honest, I was shocked with the suggestion, but I told her sure, and she seemed really happy after that. That's probably my final update. Thank you everyone for the advice. In the comments, LA for the win says, "Damn, she must really hate her mother. That or she really has love for you." Shitty spouses can still be good parents. Shitty parents can be good spouses, and sometimes shitty spouses are also shitty parents. Sounds like this guy was a shitty spouse, but a decent parent. But also makes you wonder if she doesn't have a good relationship with her mum. Maybe the mum/ex wasn't a great parent. Well, that's what I've been wondering. Either mum is a terrible parent and OP was a good parent, just a bad spouse, and so the daughter doesn't care about the mum's feelings, or OP and daughter both just happen to suck and mum gets the short end. He earned this love. I'm sorry he can't walk her down the aisle, but this is a very good compromise. I do wonder why she doesn't like the mum as much, but not our business at the end of the day. Speaking from my own experience with my parents and friends with similar experiences, being cheated on and having the marriage and relationship collapse as a result is devastating, obviously, but when kids are involved, often the person who got cheated on also gets left behind to raise the kids and provide for them, and this makes it harder to rebuild their life and move on. Kids and teenagers perceive this, but may not really get what's happening. They just see that the cheating parent is off gallivanting and living their best life, while the other parent is a sad sack at home doing nothing with their life but work and be sad. So who knows what's really going on with the OP's stepdaughter and her mum, but this would make sense. Joyful Resistance says, "The last thing I want is to damage the relationship my ex-stepdaughter has with her mum, who I cheated on." Proceeds to make said ex-stepdaughter best woman as he marries the woman he cheated on her with. You and the daughter aren't good people. Coney 2012 says, "I was one of the folks who thought compromise was the best option. Opie attends and therefore doesn't hurt his stepdaughter, but also doesn't walk her down the aisle and therefore isn't rubbing it in his ex-wife's face by being a focal point of attention. Everyone would need to agree to terms in advance. Like if there's a special dance at the reception or something, and certainly he shouldn't bring a date. Seeing how this turned out, that the daughter is fine with him not attending, this is a much better outcome for all involved. Glad he went this route and just declined altogether." Yeah, I don't know. I kind of agree with that previous comment that both of them suck in this instance, because her being the best woman in that wedding is also a gigantic slap in the face to the mum, I feel like. But I really need to know if the mum did something. Like, is this just coming out of nowhere, or did the mum actually cause this rift in their relationship? I do kind of empathize for everyone in this situation if there was a lot of hurt being caused all around, but it just to me reads as though OP and the stepdaughter or ex-stepdaughter are doing a lot of damage because there's no justification for these harmful actions being presented, just that they are doing them. Oh well, not my circus, not my monkeys. Thank you for the story, OP. Hope that one goes well. Very interested in seeing the update after the wedding. That sounds like a shit show waiting to happen. Our next post is by user AwayJaguar2813, and it's titled, "Am I the asshole here for cutting off my parents because they plan on leaving almost everything to my disabled brother? My 24 female, brother 32 male, is a failure to launch. He's never been very smart. He did badly in school and never went to college. He tried 2 different trade schools, welding and mechanic, but he basically flunked out of both. He works at a gas station now. My brother and I are our parents' only children. They always treated us relatively equal until adulthood. They always insisted that we earn our own way. They refused to pay for college or anything. I joined the military at 17, got an associate's degree while I was in, and my GI Bill went towards my bachelor's. I'm working towards my master's now. My husband and I have bought a house and have done well for ourselves. My parents, however, fully paid for my brother to try trade school twice. They've given him cash when he was behind on rent and countless loans. They support him cosplaying as an adult. Meanwhile, they never paid for my wedding, education, nothing. I don't really care so much that they didn't give me money, but the disparity in how they've treated me versus my brother. Our parents are in their 60s now, and while they aren't that old, they're both in bad health and probably won't live another 10 years. They recently just started working on their will and notified us that they were leaving almost everything to my brother, but they want me to be their medical power of attorney, manage their estates, etc. I told my parents to give my brother everything and that I'm completely done with them. They told me to have some grace and understand the fact that he isn't very capable and needs their support even after they're gone. My mother had a doctor's appointment this morning and asked me for a ride since she medically can't work. I told her to ask her favorite child or pay for an Uber. Things have been tense and hostile. My brother called me to apologize and asked me not to be mad at him, but I told him that I'm not mad at him, I'm mad at our parents for not treating us equally, and he didn't do anything wrong. Am I the asshole here? And I meant to put disabled in quotation marks. My mother refers to my brother as disabled, even though he isn't. She's had him tested for every kind of learning disability there is. He just has a below-average IQ. She thinks that counts as a disability when it isn't. In the comments, OK Stable asks, info needed. Why can't your brother live with them, help them, and take them to appointments? Seems like the least he can do. Can he drive? Is he disabled or just lazy? And OP says, they don't want to ask him. He's forgetful, and they probably wouldn't be able to rely on him anyways. Rocketman69 replies, they can pick up the phone and call him just like they do for you. Tell them you have no problem bothering me and I'm busy, he's lazy and doing nothing. But he might forget, and God forbid we hold someone to a basic standard of responsibility. So you understand that some part of this is also sexism, the idea that a daughter will do all of the caretaking and a son will get all of the wealth. Good for you for pushing back. He does not sound disabled to me if he went to 2 different trade schools, welding and mechanic, just lazy. Odds are if he gets the money, it'll not last him long, then he'll be looking to you to pay his bills. OP says he's not disabled, but he's very unintelligent and has poor critical thinking skills. He doesn't really understand how to manage money at all, despite having been taught how. Well, if his IQ is that low, he is intellectually disabled. An IQ below 75 is considered intellectually impaired. It doesn't excuse the implied favoritism. And OP replies, when they had us tested, mine was 131, I believe, and his was around 80. It's been so many years I'm having a hard time remembering. It definitely was above the cutoff for being considered intellectually disabled, because I remember them being surprised that he scored above it. Leak Middle replies, honestly, 80 is borderline. Chances are high if he took one now, it would be lower. Yours is in the higher percentile. I'm guessing that you've always been pretty capable. I'm kind of in the same situation. My younger brother is mentally disabled, I am fairly intelligent, but because I seemingly didn't need help, I honestly believe that my parents didn't realize that it felt like playing favorites. On another note, your brother may benefit from seeing someone and being tested again. If he is intellectually disabled, he's going to need assistance long after your parents are gone, and there are programs that could help. Group homes and things like that where they have independent living and working, but also oversight to help them manage finances and things. It also depends what IQ scale they're using, and IQs do vary a lot over time. The tests they give are also age-appropriate, and it's entirely possible to be just functional enough at age 6, say, but 25 years later be just under the threshold for functional. It would be worth your while to find out, because you just know you will be the one dealing with him when they are gone. At this point, it doesn't matter if he is disabled or not. I really don't care. Your parents made a choice to give him everything, but expect everything from you. And that doesn't make any sense. If I were you, I'd cut all of them off and move on with my life. They don't deserve you in it. They've done nothing to earn your trust, nothing to earn your goodwill or grace. If they want to put all of their chips onto your brother, that's on them. He can look after them in their old age, because obviously he's the only one worth anything in this family. If I were a close friend of yours, that's what I would be doing myself, regardless of how that makes your parents feel, because they don't care about how they made you feel. And now for the update posted 3 days later. Hey, so the consensus on my post was a bit of a mixed bag. I sat down with my parents and I wanted to give an update and answer some stuff. My brother is not actually disabled, he just has a low IQ, just over 80. You need an IQ under 70 where I live to be considered disabled and to qualify for any sorts of benefits. My parents have babied him because from a young age he wasn't as smart as other kids and had a low self-esteem because of that, and was quick to give up on things when they seemed too hard. He does okay on his own now. He works and pays his bills most of the time, he drives and lives with a roommate. On to the update. I sat down with my parents and explained that I've always felt like they treated me worse than my brother. They always emphasized to me that as an adult, you need to support yourself and figure things out on your own. I had to join the military at 17 because I knew they would kick me out when I was 18. My parents never offered me any support outside of raising me as a child. They didn't buy my husband and I a wedding gift. They didn't offer much of anything. Meanwhile, they brag about having over $1 million in the bank and having succeeded from nothing. Meanwhile, they paid to put my brother through 2 trade schools that he failed out of and offered him money to start his own business. They've always bailed him out when he was short on rent. For me, it's not so much about the money, but about the disparity in how we've been treated. It's obvious that they loved and cared for him more because they were willing to do these things for him and not me. But despite them not being there for me, I've still done really well in life. I've told my parents about all of this, and they were interrupting me and talking over me the whole time. They told me that I'm not entitled to a dime when they die, and that I'm an adult and I can handle myself. They just weren't understanding or even caring about my point. They told me that I need to step up and treat them better, and that it's wrong of me to not take my sick mother to the doctor or take care of her because of money. Eventually, I just gave up on trying to talk about my feelings. They just don't care. I told them that they are adults and they are not entitled to anything from me. Just like how they were never required to help me, I'm not required to help them. I told them to completely remove me from their will, as I'm not willing to be their estate executor, medical power of attorney, nothing. I don't want a dime from them at this point, and I suggested they spend all of the money they've saved over the years to pay for a really good nursing home and an estate executor, because I am no longer willing to do anything for them. My mother was floored and asked if I'd really put my own parents in a nursing home. I asked if they'd really let their 17-year-old daughter join the army to get sexually harassed by older men in order to go to school without taking on a huge debt. My parents cried and yelled at me, and I left. And that's it, I guess. I kind of feel relieved, like a massive weight is off my shoulders. I have a wonderful husband, we own a nice home, I'm getting ready to start working on my master's degree, and we're thinking of maybe having a baby soon. I no longer have to worry about dealing with my parents. They're adults and they can deal with their own problems, just like I've done with mine. And yeah, that's it. I'm not sure if it's the update we wanted, but it is what it is. In the comments, I Wanna Be Anemone says, they've spent so long using you as their personal doormat, they're not even able to break from the delusion that you'll keep presenting your face for them to step on. Congrats on your newfound freedom. It sounds like OP has made peace with a really difficult decision, and I think it's brave that he stood up for himself and set boundaries. Walking away from toxic dynamics takes courage, especially when it's family. She has chosen peace and self-respect, and that is worth everything. Not the asshole. I like how they told you that you're an adult and not entitled to their help, and you throw those words back in their faces. Parents be like, you're gonna put us in a nursing home? And OP says, no, you can put yourself in a nursing home. Classic. Thinking she would take care of them in their old age so they don't go into a nursing home while bro rides off in the sunset with all of the money. Honestly, I would have cut them off at the wedding if they had $1 million and didn't even give me a $20 vase or something. Who shows up to a wedding empty-handed? And OP replies, I've been to a lot of weddings and I would never show up without a wedding gift. It's rude. Not to mention my in-laws actually paid for the entire wedding, and my cheap parents became a major talking point. It was very embarrassing. Not the arsehole. They cried when you told them that you were going to treat them just the way they treated you. That's how mean they've been to you. You made the right choice. If they can dump a vulnerable 17-year-old girl on the army, then they have no claims on your time and your help. My thoughts exactly. My daughter lived in the dorms in college at 17, and I worried and visited and called as much as I could. I can't imagine dumping her in the army. You don't owe them anything. Also, I'm a special education teacher, and they did your brother such a disservice. He could have done so much with the right support. Yeah, they don't deserve you, OP, and you've made the right choice here. Those two had the capability to make better choices in their lives. They had the ability to critically think about, their situations, and they chose to do the easy thing, which was sit on their laurels and not do anything of value. You gave them a chance, and I don't think they even deserved a chance, and look what happened. Good on you for cutting them off. Very happy that they're doing what is right for you, and, I wouldn't trust your brother to keep that inheritance going into the future. It sounds like, with as low IQ as he is, he's going to be the target of gold diggers that will take all of that money off of his hands. So that makes your parents even more stupid for entrusting that to him, knowing that people are out there that can and will steal that money. That's just life sometimes, and now it's no longer your circus or your monkeys. So I hope that you find peace going forward. Thank you for the story. Our next post is by user Contribution Due 4043, and it's titled, "Am I the asshole here for reacting like this to finding out my boyfriend has 2 kids? I, 25 female, have been dating a guy, 31 male, for the past 2 months. However, last night, he told me that he has 2 kids. I was honestly shocked that this was the first time he was telling me, especially since we've been dating over Christmas and didn't even mention it. I've never dated anyone who had kids before, so naturally I was curious and started asking questions. Whenever I got my 4th question, he started getting slightly defensive, asking if I was the cops because I was asking so many questions. Lamau? Eventually, I was able to get through to him and explain how I was feeling, since he basically kept this a secret and sprung it on me as if it was nothing. He opened up and said that his kids have 2 different mothers and that they don't get along because the kids were born only 4 months apart and the youngest is only 9 months old. Shocked face emojis, holy shit. At this point, I'm literally flabbergasted. We were both kind of drunk, and I told him that I would go back to my own apartment because I needed time to think about it all. He didn't want me to leave on my own and take the subway, as we live in New York City, so we both went back to his place to sleep, and I slept in the spare room. I left early, at around 5 a.m., and now he's blowing up my phone asking me what's wrong and what happened. That this was the reason he didn't want to tell me that he had kids, because I wouldn't like him anymore. I can't deal with this guy. Please, someone tell me that I'm not losing my mind and that this man is crazy? I'm actually laughing so much writing this because how the hell did I not notice this man has 2 kids? Is he that good of a liar? At this point, I'm ready to break up with him, because who even is this man? If he lied about that, what else is he lying about? Am I being an asshole about this situation? And in the comments, CrazyMinute69 says, "Not the asshole here. 2 baby mamas and the kids are only 4 months apart. Do you honestly think he's ever going to be loyal to you with that history?" OP replies, "Exactly. I can never ever trust someone who lies so easily and so long about something so important." SugarMama76 replies, "What he did tell you is that he gets women pregnant and dumps them. He cheats. He will hide important facts. You can't chase this guy. So if you want to be a stepmom to a whole passel of kids and expected to help support them, that's a choice. You're only 2 months in. Time to run like Bambi across the meadow. He'll pull the, 'This is why I didn't say. I knew you would run' crap. Try to manipulate you to think that you're the bad one. Please remember that it's not the hiding important facts, it's a pattern of behavior that you don't want to be a part of." I feel like the 2 different mums having kids a few months apart and each other is probably the worst part here. A few months apart and only a few months ago too. This isn't old news. This is recent stuff he was doing. My one and only foray into online dating, I went on a date with a guy who was a widower. I thought foolishly, well, there's no ex-wife for all that drama at least, and good for him getting back out there. Well, turned out, she had died by her own hand less than 8 weeks before our date, but wait, there's more. He then hooked up with an old friend for a couple of weeks, and she unalived herself. 2 women within 2 months, and I was like, dude, I don't want to hurt myself, but you seem to be a carrier, and that is the best case scenario. So that's my story of my one and only dating app date with possible double homicide guy. Oh yeah, I'm sure both of those women, did that to themselves. That's, wow. And I thought the gaycation story was crazy, Jesus. And Pretty Curls says, run. If he would lie about his children, he will lie about anything. Do you want to become a baby mama number 3? Think about it. Why hasn't he married the other women that he fathered children with, and the youngest is 9 months? He's just getting his dick wet all over town. You're 25. Go date someone single with no kids. This is a recipe for disaster. Now if you stay with him, just know that you were warned. And OP says, this is literally my thought process right now. He's a kid collector. I briefly dated one of those. 4 kids from 3 baby mamas. My friend pointed out that it's the women who end up supporting the kids, so it's easy for a man to collect kids this way. I blocked and deleted so fast. Yup, don't blame you at all, OP, for blocking and deleting this guy so fast if and when you do, because if he can lie about that, he can lie about anything. And you are more than welcome to not want to date someone with kids if that is not what you want. Perfectly respect that. But when he lies like this, he cheats on someone that he got pregnant, and there were 2 pregnancies so close together, run. Run, 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 run. Stay the hell away. This thread has been one of the experiences of all time for me. What the hell? And now, onto the updates. Thank you to everyone who has replied. I'm honestly still in shock about it all, but I've broken up with him and blocked him on everything. He told me that baby mama 1 was his girlfriend and that they broke up, but was still hooking up post-breakup. Then, whilst they were broke up, he was hooking up with other women, and that's where baby mama 2 came from. I asked him how he has nothing in his apartment for the babies, and he said, I'm not really in their lives at the moment. AKA, deadbeat, as most of you suspected. Who would have thought? Who would have thought that he's not in their lives? Wow, baby collector. Someone come and get this man. But not you, OP. You do not get this man. Thank you for doing the right thing, and thank you for breaking up with him, OP. Good riddance. Am I the asshole here because I got angry at my family for making fun of my boyfriend's hobby? I'm upset about what happened today. My, female 22, boyfriend, male 23, was at my house today hanging out with me. I still live with my parents and my brother, male 19, too. My boyfriend really likes crocheting, and he's really good at it. He has an online store. It's not his livelihood, but it gives him a little bit of extra income. He does it because he likes it, and that's it. And it's something that I love about him. He really has a lot of talent. I myself am a mess with my hands, and I admire how skilled and talented he is. But it seems like my family has some problem with that. We were both in the living room watching Netflix while he was knitting. He has a lot of Christmas errands that he needs to finish, and my mum came up to him and asked him point blank, "Seriously? You don't have a guy hobby?" My boyfriend was literally stunned, and so was I because this came completely out of nowhere. I told my mum that it's an art, and art has no gender. She looked at me like I was dumb and said, "But knitting is a girl thing." My dad was there and said something like, "Well, everyone can try new things these days, right?" It pissed me off because she clearly said it in a sarcastic way, and my brother just laughed. My boyfriend left shortly after. Although he remained calm, he was clearly upset. I called them out on what they said. They'd never had any problems when they'd seen him doing their errands before, and then my dad told me that he thinks my boyfriend is too effeminate. He has long hair and also paints his nails, and my brother said that he does look kind of gay. Now I'm fuming in my room. I texted him apologizing profusely, and he said not to worry and that it's okay. I feel so bad and embarrassed. I'm so angry right now. I just skipped dinner, and my mum says to stop being dramatic because they're just looking out for me. But belittling and embarrassing my boyfriend to his face isn't looking out for me. I'm too angry to think clearly. Am I overreacting, or am I right to feel this anger? In the comments, Temporary Active says, "Not the arsehole, but my dad is an old-school Italian in his 60s, born and raised in Brooklyn, rides a Harley, drinks scotch, and loves to make people quilts. Your family is infused with ideologies that revolve around gender specifics. Be happy this is not you. Work hard on your inner world. Everyone is going to have opinions and comments." And OP says, "Oh my god, now I love your dad." Someone replies to OP, "My surgeon that I've had since I was a toddler crochets stuffed animals. He said a lot of surgeons in his circle knit or crochet to keep up with dexterity, and it's just relaxing. He showed me a pic of a warthog he made for his daughter-in-law, and let me tell you, that thing was detailed. It was beautiful." That Vicious Vixen says, "Not the arsehole. Your family were being mean for no reason. Nothing wrong with a guy who likes to crochet." And OP says, "Right? I don't know what their problem is." Well, you should tell them that historically, sailors knitted a lot too. And if sailors aren't manly enough for them, soldiers are also known to knit a lot. Yeah, I feel like this is all coming out of nowhere. Like, knitting is not an effeminate thing to do. Yes, it presents that way because usually grandmas are doing it, but grandmas are not the be-all end-all of crocheting and knitting. Don't know how you changed their mind on this one, but as it stands, I don't think you're the arsehole here. And now, onto the update, 6 days later. Hi everyone, I'm back with a little update for those who want to know what happened with my boyfriend and my family. I tried to make a station update in the Am I the Arsehole subreddit, but it got deleted, so I'll leave it here on my profile in case anyone's interested in knowing what happened. Well, the day after the fight at home, I went to visit my boyfriend at his apartment. I packed a small suitcase to stay with him for a few days because I was really angry, and even more so when everyone at home acted like nothing bad happened. Well, I wish I could tell you that my family magically came to their senses and apologized on their knees, but no. It turns out they never liked my boyfriend that much, and don't mind saying those things because it's not like I'm going to marry him. At this point, I'm not even mad anymore, I'm just really disappointed. My boyfriend is going to visit his family for Christmas, but we agreed anyway that it would be best if he didn't come over to my house indefinitely. I'm gonna go spend Christmas with them because other relatives are coming, like my grandparents and my uncles, and I don't want to make this a bigger drama. But it's not all bad news. My boyfriend has asked me to live together. The apartment where he lives is his. We've been together for almost 2 years, and he asked me if I would like to start living together next year. I wanted to say yes at that moment, but he told me to think about it and talk with him after Christmas. That was 2 days ago, and my answer is still yes. Things at home are still awkward, everyone keeps trying to act like nothing happened, and I'm staying distant, but not disrespectful. I just want to spend these holidays with my family that I don't see that often. I think that's all for now. Happy holidays, everyone. In the comments, Smart Quokka says, "This is not over. They want to break up the OP's relationship because they think her boyfriend is too girly. I suspect they will try some kind of sabotage or character assassination. You can bet with the 'you won't marry him' comment, once they do get serious to marriage level, they will escalate and become worse. I hope for OP's sake that she will be prepared." What a dumb reason to dislike someone. OP's gonna go no contact as soon as she reasonably can. Those kinds of people just hate happiness. I would have replied, "I like a man who's good with his hands and has nimble fingers," and wink suggestively. At worst, it seems like it's internalized homophobia, and at best, it's a very outdated view on the role of women and men in our era. Yeah, and I know that it's hard to cut family off and just go no contact with that. Not saying that by any means that's an easy thing, but They're trying to break up her relationship. They're, in a way, alluding to the fact that if it ever gets to marriage, they will escalate. They will do whatever they can to separate those two. Those people told you who they are, OP. Believe them and get yourself a safe distance away. Those are not people that have your best interests at heart, no matter what they tell you. So thank God you are going to go and move in with him, and I wish you two nothing but a happy and healthy future together. Our next post is by a throwaway account, titled, I, 26 female, have been giving gifts to my boyfriend, 29 males, family, at many celebrations, without anything in return. Do I continue? My boyfriend and I have been together for 2 years. His family is very big on hosting and throwing celebrations, whereas my family tends to only do larger holidays together, which will be mostly centered around food as opposed to gifts. In the past year or so, I've been invited to his sister's, 28 females, birthday, his sister's baby shower, his mum, 60-something females, birthday, his sister's kid's birthday, 2 female, his sister's housewarming, his family's Christmas, and a couple of other miscellaneous celebrations. Every time I bring a gift. It's to the point where I've been spending more money on gifts for his family than my own parents and siblings. However, I've never gotten a gift from his family. It's not really their fault or intentional, as we will tend to do our own celebration for my birthday, so there's not really been an opportunity for his family to give me gifts, other than Christmas. But the one-sided gift giving is starting to get to me. I've considered that maybe there isn't an expectation for me to bring a gift, but for most of these celebrations that I'm invited to, it would be very odd not to bring one. For example, baby shower, birthdays, etc., and I've considered doing joint gifts with my boyfriend. But his mum also pointedly asked one time, "Is that one from OP?" without mentioning that I had even brought a gift, which made it seem like it was a given that I should have brought one. To be clear, I don't want or need any gifts from anyone in his family. I work a decently paying job, despite being in a high cost of living city, and my boyfriend and I are both more financially comfortable for our age than his family. However, the sheer number of celebrations that I'm being invited to with an unspoken obligation for gifts is starting to build up, especially because it feels like the relationship is one-sided, as I've never received anything in return. With Christmas coming up, I wonder if I should continue bringing gifts or use this as an opportunity to work with my boyfriend and change our operating model. Or do I just bring something that's cheaper, like some baked goods or chocolates? In the comments, NYC Storyteller says, you and your boyfriend should be giving joint gifts paid for by him, or you should stop gifting unless there's a clear expectation of reciprocity. You are not married to this guy, and they are not your family. Too Dry to Poop Out says, most definitely start bringing some baked goods. Take on a baking hobby, but not too much time investment if you're not interested, or want to give them that much effort, or even going to the store's bakery section to get cookies and putting them on your own separate tray at home. If they ask why the sudden switch, you can tell them, baking from the heart is the best gift of all. Porcelain Thunders replies, that was my first thought. If that woman wants to ask who the gift is from, you can say, oh, boyfriend or whoever, and when she hints at you, shove the tray of delicious food into your hands and say, I brought this, go ahead and put it out for me. Kidding. Well, kidding on the last part. Just bring food. That is your contribution. If she ever tries to make you feel bad or sass you can always go to, okay, but not this, but it's a variation of, I am so sorry. I thought gifts were taboo since no one ever brought any to my birthday. Oh goodness, didn't realize we were still doing that for some people. I just wanted to bring something and thought this effort of taking time to make food was enough. Yeah, and as everyone always says, it's the thought that counts, so just do baked goods. You didn't get anything for your birthday, and I understand you didn't throw a party, so people didn't get to come over and give you gifts officially. So in a way, people will say, well, maybe this is your fault because you're not throwing events in which people can come and gift to you, or there is an expectation of a gift. I get that one, but at the same time, I've also been gifted myself after the fact by family and friends, when it's close to those dates. So it's not exactly an excuse for those people not to have given OP any gifts. Going forward, I do think that these people have given you good suggestions. Give them baked gifts, and what can they do about that, And now, onto the update 3 weeks later. Some commenters suggested that I was not being appreciative of being invited to family events, so I thought that maybe I was being too harsh. Well, with Christmas coming up, I was invited to Christmas with my boyfriend's family, but given that his sister had just had her second child with some health complications, we had a conversation and decided that it made sense for me not to join them, as I've been flying a lot for work and don't want to put the newborn at risk. That made the conversation about doing joint gifts super easy with my boyfriend, since I physically wouldn't be there. Out of the blue yesterday, though, I received a text from my boyfriend's sister reminding me of their house address to ship gifts to, even though I've driven there multiple times. Then, about an hour later, I receive a text from my boyfriend's mother telling me about how the sister's daughter, toddler, has been a little upset recently given the new baby, and that it would be great to get the toddler an extra gift to make her feel special, since the attention has been on the newborn, on top of whatever I was planning to get the newborn. She did top it off with a, "You always give such nice gifts," as a nice compliment. For context, I grew up in a family that taught me not to buy gifts that you wouldn't want to receive. I bought very nice things for boyfriend's sister's kids for her daughter's birthday. Toys plus nice name brand clothing like Nike and North Face, and the latest baby shower for the newborn. I brought this to the attention of my boyfriend, and he mentioned that he would let them know that he was bringing our gifts, but I have a feeling they'll misinterpret to think that we're still getting separate gifts. We will see how it goes next week, but I've been super put off by the texts that I've gotten from his family. It seems pretty blatant that they want gifts from me and are expecting it, but I'm glad that my boyfriend is planning to take care of the communications. In the comments, 6 days later, OP comes back and says, "Didn't expect this to have so many comments. I read through a bunch of the comments and took some inspiration from here in what I ended up doing. I'll make a longer comment/post tomorrow when I have time, as I'm still with family for Christmas, but the quick update is that I didn't spend any money on gifts for his family this Christmas, but I helped boyfriend pick some out that he bought. Boyfriend took care of most of the communication, so I just texted back some pleasant, 'Thank you, I'll remind boyfriend. Happy holidays' to his family.' Some minor drama unfolded, and I'll detail tomorrow, but overall I'm happy with the way that my boyfriend resolved it. To answer some of the other questions, no, I did not get Christmas gifts last year either from his family. The excuse was that we did a late celebration on the 27th last year with his family, and so that's why they didn't get me anything, though I still brought gifts myself. Boyfriend didn't intervene earlier because he didn't know that they had texted me directly, and honestly, he's just kind of oblivious and didn't realize how many celebrations and events that we'd gone to, as it had been a hectic year for us both with work. Yes, we have a pretty high income disparity between me and the boyfriend and his family. His parents have some debt and are tight on money, and his sister's husband is paying off a mortgage with expenses for 2 children. Especially since his sister was laid off for most of the year and then was pregnant and had a kid. He probably makes what his sister plus sister-in-law made before she was laid off combined. And I make a good amount more than his sister-in-law too. I honestly don't need gifts from them, but it would be nice to have some reciprocation in some other way. Even a thank you card or something. OP replies to a deleted comment saying, "Credit cards, hence the debt. Yes, they get him gifts, nothing super expensive, but still gifts here and there." Edit, honestly, the celebrations are a way for them to get gifts and save on certain costs, baby shower registries, etc. And OP comes back 9 days later with another update, saying, "Now that the holidays are finally over, and I realized that people are actually waiting for a conclusion thanks to the Best of Redditor updates, I thought I'd come here to post an update. Some new things happening unfolded through the new year that I had to deal with, hence the delay. Pre-Christmas. I texted back to his family what I had written in the previous comment, and boyfriend called his mum and sister, which I didn't hear the full conversation of. The message he conveyed was that we would be bringing a joint gift, and listed out all of the gifts that I had given them this year, and pointed out that they neither wished me a happy birthday, nor got me a gift for Christmas last year. Apparently he was nice about it, and said that he knew that money was tight for them, and that we would be doing a joint gift moving forwards, so they wouldn't have to worry about a return gift. This is a very fine arrangement with me. He hates shopping anyways, so he gave me a budget for each of his family members, and I chose the gift for him. He didn't mention to his family that I hadn't pitched in any money. On Christmas, I had a lovely Christmas with my family, but boyfriend calls me at noon. He tells me to ignore any texts that I might get from his family, and that he'll explain when we are together. I don't get anything from them until the evening. A text from his mum that just says, "Boyfriend's name, will bring back presents from us to you. It would be great if you could come celebrate New Year's Eve with us, as the baby is in a stable condition, and we will celebrate the baby's recovery. No need to bring anything for us, just the baby." I forwarded the message to boyfriend. Apparently his family had bought me literal dollar store gifts in an attempt for us to keep doing separate gifts that he was refusing to bring back to me. They wanted to do another celebration on New Year's Eve for more gifts for the baby. Boyfriend told me that he had already told them that we weren't going. It overall was just minor drama because I never had to talk to anyone from his family. He handled it all. He told them that if they were going to treat me like that, we would no longer be joining their celebrations. On the day after Christmas, my boyfriend came over to visit my family for Christmas. My parents still got him a gift. He immediately felt really bad, and we spent most of the day together with my family, plus planning a New Year's/New Year's Eve date night between the two of us. It was exciting, and I thought that was the end of it. Before New Year's, boyfriend's mum calls him while he's at my place and basically starts breaking down. She says that boyfriend and I make more than his family, mum, dad, sister, brother-in-law combined, and apparently the debt of his parents and sister are much larger sums than he had assumed. Apparently they really appreciated my gifts because it felt like a little bit of luxury in what felt like a life of despair given their snowballing debt. They had too much pride to say anything, and basically ended up bullying me about it, boyfriend's words, instead to get the things they wanted. Apparently he texted his mum about the gift my parents got him, and it made her feel like she was going to lose him to me/my family because of money. Boyfriend told her that it wasn't about money, it was about treating people with basic decency. They talked a lot more, but the TLDR is that his family has been under a lot of financial stress and pressure, much more than what we had thought, and were a bit spiteful of how much money we earn and wants help. I reflected on all of the comments saying that I was being a doormat, and I think my stance on this is that I knew I didn't need gifts from them, I just wanted a little more appreciation. So I was in a little bit of a pickle about what to do, because I genuinely enjoyed gifting and picking out gifts, but also felt like I was being used. I just wanted them to appreciate the gifts. Maybe that's petty, as I saw a comment saying that you should never expect anything in return when gifting. And to those saying that boyfriend is a problem, I think this might be a relatively new thing with his family that he's just now recognizing. Debt accumulation is recent, past 2 years after his sister had her first kid. He's handled it gracefully as it unraveled. We spent New Year's Eve and New Year's with just the two of us. It was lovely. We don't have a resolution on how we will deal with his family yet. He holds strong boundaries and won't be giving them any money, but will continue to bring gifts to celebrations that his family hosts if he is still invited. In the comments, B Gummyho says, "I guess it was nice of them to admit that they were using you for a bit of luxury, instead of at least pretending like they didn't realize they were using you. Sheesh. Good on your boyfriend for handling it. I'd say let him continue to handle it while you stay out of it. Hope you all had a good New Year's." Yeah, I'm so used to posts like this where the boyfriend is just this passive figure that doesn't want to get involved or sides with the parents. Kind of nice to see a partner that has their backs, but doesn't do things without making sure that it's okay. So, they added another child to an already existing debt? So smart of them. They were probably just expecting you and boyfriend to fund it. Your boyfriend is right that it isn't about money, but about basic decency. They couldn't even text you happy birthday, but could text you to ask for presents? I wouldn't let them guilt trip you. I'm also curious how they raked up so much credit card debt. It's good to nip this sort of entitled expectation in the bud. Can go sour real fast. Hopefully they'll keep the envy to a low hum, but if you buy a holiday property, you might want to keep that to yourselves. Also, they could have just sent you a card, wished you happy birthday, something. It's hard. It's a very difficult situation, that one, but I agree. They could have sent you something. They could have wished you happy holidays, but no, they stayed silent. Just a weird entitled expectation to have, and a weird thing to hide from him. Like, I understand the shame in having that much debt, but it really is not an excuse for how they have treated OP in this situation. Your boyfriend is right that it's about basic decency, and even in the face of adversity, they have a lot of debt, absolutely. Why were they not able to show OP any basic decency? It doesn't make any sense. Don't let them guilt trip you, and don't buy anything more for them if your partner doesn't agree to it. And as you said at the end, you won't be giving them any money. That is a good, hill to die on. If you give them an inch, they'll try and take a mile. Thank you for the story, OP, and all the best of luck going forward. I just found out that my boyfriend slept with someone else when on a break. My 39 female, boyfriend 40 male of 14 years slept with someone else while we were on a break. A few months ago, my boyfriend initiated a break. He's a recovering drug addict and alcoholic, so we've been through a lot. He was really struggling with his emotions at the time. We were living together and just slept separately in my flat. A few days later, we got back together and he said he was certain now. I have just found out that he slept with someone else during that time and his protection split. Should I let him stay? In the comments, Cake Zealous Ideal says, "You're 39 and wasted 14 years of your life with this loser. Don't stay for another 14 years. A deleted user says, "He's a drug and alcohol addict, so we've been through a lot. He lives in your flat, dumps you to fuck other people, fails to inform you of STD risk. Honey, the juice ain't worth the squeeze. Too much headache for someone who continues to take without giving. Big fat nope. Make that break permanent. You're being a doormat, allowing this asshole to ditch and return whenever the hell he wants. But he's sure now. But not when you supported him in his addiction struggles, not when you've given him somewhere to live, not when you've given him space to figure out what he wants. No. All that is something he's willing to throw away because he encountered someone he might like to bang. He had no guarantee that you would be willing to take him back, but losing you was still worth it. Unless he knew that he can do whatever the fuck he wants and you will never hold him accountable. Raise your bar, OP, because it's currently lost in a dank basement somewhere." And OP replies, "That's the worst thing. He thought he was going to get away with it. He only told me because he got tested today and there might be something wrong." Not From Here, my dear says, "Girl, why are you not tossing his stuff out of the window right now? Why are you not steaming mad? Obviously it's your life, but do not trust anything he says, even if he shows you a paper of being clean, because someone like him will fake that too." And OP says, "I am steaming mad." Yeah, I'm with everyone else here. If you want some relationship advice, block this guy and get rid of him ASAP. He's a drug addict. He's an alcohol addict. You've been enabling him, obviously. And now he's gone and put your health at risk by banging someone else and then, "Oh, I'm only gonna tell you because I think there might be something wrong." Get away from this man. What are you doing? And 2 months later, OP returns with an update titled, "Am I overreacting by being angry with my ex's mum for asking me to let him stay longer? My ex of 14 years and I broke up 2 months ago because he admitted to sleeping with someone during a 5-day break in August. He does not work, is a recovering addict, and was my dependent. He used to do some light housework and cook while I was working. Since we split up, he's been living at mine. I gave him a strict move-out date of the 2nd of January right from the start. It's been really stressful living with him still. He's been drinking and using again. Yesterday, I spoke to his mom and she asked me to let him stay for a few more days because he will find it hard to get government help at this time of year. She has a spare room in her flat. I got very upset, cried, and said having him there was ruining my life. I mentioned his previous violence and how I want to get on with my life. She said she didn't realize how upset I was. Her partner later came home and said that she wouldn't mention to him that I was shouting at her because he would be upset. She also pointed out that she took him in when we broke up before. She mentioned that she let us stay at hers when I was buying my flat, which turned out to be 6 months. I'm really upset and angry. Am I overreacting? In the comments, Be the Book Girl says, "Nope, you are not overreacting. Make sure you are properly getting him out, evicting him in order to protect yourself. Once that is done, and there are no negative repercussions for you, depending on tenant laws where you are, he has to go. Block his family, F them. Protect yourself, and best wishes." OP replies, "Thank you. That is good advice. I'll make sure that he has been evicted properly. I understand his mum is on his side, but she acted like she liked me too." BodySurfer8 says, "Not overreacting. This kind of shit upsets everybody, but the guy needs to go live under a bridge, hit rock bottom, and turn his life around. Neither you nor his mother should keep enabling his behavior. You need to cut and run. Move on." And OP replies, "That's what I think. I think he needs to understand that he's responsible for his own life." B2B Rob says, "Not overreacting. Addict or not, he's an adult who made a very dumb decision that has consequences, especially considering everything you provide him with. If he didn't show you the basic respect of being loyal, then why should you have to nurse and baby him? Not your problem anymore. Focus on yourself." And OP says, "Thank you. I only asked for loyalty and him not drinking or doing drugs. I know she doesn't want him to be homeless, but he's had 2 months." And now, onto the update 5 days later. Firstly, thank you all for the useful advice that I was given on my original post. I was unable to reply because it was locked, but thank you all. Since I found out that my boyfriend of 14 years slept with someone else, I broke up with him. He stayed living in my flat for 2 months on a tight deadline so that he could find a home as he is jobless. He didn't, and he is now homeless. His mum pressured me to have him for longer, as there's a cold snap here and he's on the streets, but I said no. His mum can take him in if she is so worried. I found out it was the lady that he was spending time with at the gym. I think he wanted to try to see if it was better. That is all, and I now live alone with a dog. In the comments, Dodgy Past says, "If he knew he was going to be homeless that far in advance and didn't sort out any income, then that's on him. Who would want to have anything to do with someone who behaves like that?" And OP replies, "Exactly. I think he thought that I would eventually forgive him." All But Luck says, "So you mean there's consequences to my action?" And OP says, "Yeah, I honestly think he was not expecting it. He said he knew he wanted me back immediately and thinks that's enough." All But Luck again replies, "I want back the option for free shelter." OP says, "Yeah, I paid for everything for us both, so he had quite an easy life. He did some housework and cooked most of the food." All But Luck replies again, "Well, he's about to be cooking and cleaning 8 hours straight at Wendy's." And OP says, "Lol, I hope so. He hasn't really worked before, so it's going to be a struggle for him." And All But Luck again replies, "Just make sure not to take him back when he comes begging, 'cause he will." And OP says, "I have no interest in being back with him. You can't be with someone for the rest of your life just to make them happy. He was never happy anyway." Raise your hand if you read Mum's remark about not telling him as a veiled threat. And may he never darken OP's door again. That whole conversation was mother-in-law trying to manipulate OP into taking him back cause mummy is sick of his shit too. Guess that's where he learned it to make their problems someone else's. The man is 40 and hasn't really worked before. Hopefully this cold hard wake-up slap might help him, but I doubt it. I'll never understand people like the ex. Why cheat on the person who is keeping you from being on the streets? Well, because they can. For 14 years, he used her, and she didn't leave him. He didn't think that she would leave him this time. Well, it's not like they're making good decisions in the first place. I can't be the only one seeing an alcoholic and drug-abusing Ross yelling, "It was a break!" I admit, I thought of that too. The biggest difference being, this Ross was living with his Rachel when this happened. They were just sleeping in separate beds. So he had to arrange his affair for when she wasn't home or at the other person's place, which took planning, not spur of the moment. However, in general, I'm not a Ross fan, and so I would put him only slightly above the guy in the post. At least he wasn't on drugs and an alcoholic, but his overall character was terrible sober, so it only increases his rating by a slight bit. Anyone here want to bet that, the condom didn't actually break, he just didn't use one? I just don't get why people have such low standards for their partners. 40 years old, didn't have a job, alcoholic, drug abuser. Why do people stay with people like this? It just doesn't make any sense to me. He's like this at 40 years old and you've been with him for 14 years. What was he like at 26? Like, he didn't have a job and he never worked before that. What made you think, yeah, this is marriage material right here? What's going on? A little bit of casual violence sprinkled in there too. It's just sad. Anyway, thank you, OP, for sharing the story, sharing the warning for what people should not be doing. I'm glad that you're out of there, and I'm glad that you're getting him out of your life. That is the best thing that you can do for yourself. So thank you for the story, and I'd love to know what the rest of you guys think. Our next post is by user CatlessBoyMum from the Petty Revenge subreddit, and it's titled Just Desserts. For over 20 years, I have hosted holidays at my place. My sister and her family moved out of state, but are close enough to come back for each holiday. Sounds great, right? Well, not so much. Sister and her family always go to her in-laws' place for the big meal, and since her mother-in-law is not a great cook, they just pick at the food and then invade my place for leftovers, aka the entire meal afterwards. Now, you're probably thinking, what's the big deal, right? Well, the big deal is that it's gotten to the point that my recipe for mashed potatoes starts with a 10-pound bag of potatoes, the turkey barely fits in the oven, the sides take up the entire counter, and I use an entire quart of cream for just desserts. It's a huge undertaking, and not only does sister not contribute financially, she never even has the decency to let me know whether they are coming or when. This year, I texted the family that my kids are going to make the meal for just us, and if anyone wanted to join us afterwards, I'd have dessert and only dessert to share. As usual, I got a text from everyone else, but nothing from sister. Rather than trying to chase her down, I assumed she had gotten the message and went on with my plans. The time comes, and the kids put on a lovely meal. We eat and enjoy ourselves and then pack up the leftovers. A few families show up over the next hour and chatted happily. And then it happens. The car's pulling into the driveway. Sister's family has arrived. They invade in usual style, going round giving quick hugs before heading for the kitchen. It took less than 30 seconds before she's out, trying to be polite since there are still others there, to ask where the food is. I say, aren't the pies on the counter? The bread pudding is in the crockpot, the sauce is on the stove. She says, yes, but where's the food? And at this point, the others are starting to catch on to what's up and trading glances. And I say, I told everyone that we were only doing dessert. Did you not get the message? And she says, you know we can't actually eat at mother-in-law's house. We were counting on eating here before we drive back. And I say, well, I think there should be a fast food open somewhere between here and your place. Her adult kids were trickling out of the kitchen at this point, looking around as if a turkey dinner is going to magically appear out of thin air, and everyone else is practically holding their breath, waiting to see what happens. She spewed some not nice comments about how they were probably not going to find anything open and that it was my fault they were going hungry. Told the kids to grab something to eat in the cars and stomped out. I don't know who lost their composure first, but I think that it was my uncle who cracked and started laughing. Once we calmed back down, the rest of us had quite a nice evening enjoying just desserts. In the comments, Trebled Heart says, "Is she going to treat you like a food stop before heading home? Maybe you should start meeting her at the door and asking for payment before she gets the food like a fast food joint would." And OP says, "That's not a bad idea actually. Hand her some to-go bags with Uncrustables and snack-sized chips in them and call it a bagged lunch. Car hop it out to her car. No muss, no fuss." OP says, "As long as I don't have to wear roller skates, I'd break my neck if I tried." Bakatari says, "Aw hell, you could have at least baked 4 and 20 blackbirds into a pie so she could eat crow. Good for you. You're not feeding her entitlement or her family." And OP says, "Damn, I wish I had thought of that. Do you think it would work at Christmas?" Well, if she does this again at Christmas, and if you can actually find 24 blackbirds for that pie, I guarantee it'll be the last pie of yours that she ever samples. Own Breakfast 570 says, "It begs the question if your sister knew her mother-in-law's cooking was shitty and they don't eat the food there, why didn't she stay her ass at home and make her own food with her own family instead of being a mooch? Sounds like it might be time for everyone in the family to start putting the kibosh on her coming over for holidays and trying to score free food from you guys." And OP replies, But, that would mean that she would have to spend all that time shopping and prepping and cooking and dealing with leftovers, as well as the expense, sarcasm. Yup, that's why I'm over it. Most of the family knew she's a bit spoiled, but I think it was pretty eye-opening for everyone who saw what happened. And damn if that wasn't the sweetest part of all. Well, just from what you wrote, your own sister sounds exhausting to be around. And OP says, "We get along much better now that we live in different states. When she could pop in at any time, I almost strangled her on a regular basis." I feel you there, OP. Good on you for getting your just desserts there. I would strangle her too, metaphorically, if she were to do that. Just because she can pop in at any time doesn't mean that she should. And not on a regular basis as well. That is just, I don't know, unless previously discussed. And especially with someone as annoying as her, it's not cool. Just not cool. Good that she moved away before you had to set a hard boundary with her. And now, on to the update, 25 days later. My kids got word from their cousins that there was quite the blow-up from my sister on their way home. Bad enough that all the kids ended up in one car, so they didn't have to listen to her. I am, of course, devastated. Okay, not really. By her reaction. My text for the Christmas desserts drop-in read something like this. "It was so great seeing all of you that dropped in for desserts on Thanksgiving. If you couldn't make it, please know that you were missed. It worked out so well that we would like to invite all of you to drop by for desserts on Christmas Day as well. We will start at 2 p.m. on Christmas Day. Drop in as you can. Everyone is invited for caroling and cocoa on Christmas Eve as well. We will be leaving at 6 p.m. and it should only be about 2 hours. If you're going to attend either or both, please let me know which and how many people to plan for by the 15th. Love you all." Most of the families texted back right away. I didn't get a text from sister. Shocking, I know. What I did get was a phone call on the 19th and on the 23rd to let me know that it isn't worth the extra drive time for desserts. Keep in mind, the extra drive time is 15 minutes or so each way. Obviously, this was an attempt to wrangle a meal invite. I'm quite proud of myself for just saying that I was going to miss her family and hoped they had a Merry Christmas anyway. Both times. This summer, I had spent a fair amount of time thinking that I wanted to make myself a throw blanket like the one that I was making for sister for Christmas. After the call on the 19th, I took that lovely blanket out of the gifts and replaced it with a book of holiday recipes. Since I was feeling extra petty, instead of making a nice book, laminated and illustrated pages, properly bound, I printed out the pages on plain paper and stapled them together. I mailed it Christmas Eve, so she should be getting it in the mail in a few days. Her adult kids, on the other hand, had decided that dealing with their mum was a pain, and they would be coming by for desserts without telling her. It was a rather nice surprise to get that text on the 14th. On Christmas Day, they even managed to get their teen brother into the car before she noticed as they were leaving. The funny thing, they all got their regular Christmas presents from under the tree when they arrived. They also got an abundance of texts from their mother having an absolute fit that they had come to my house. The funniest one was her telling them that she and their father were driving home without them, as if that was somehow a punishment. Insert eye roll of everyone present here. If you're wondering what recipes I chose to include in the cookbook, it's 25 pages of just desserts. Honestly, I couldn't resist. Edit to add, the kids were absolutely hysterical as they took turns reading out the angry texts that they were receiving. Update, it's the new year, January 3rd, and I still haven't heard a word directly from my sister. I got a text from my niece wanting to know where I purchased the hair accessories that I gave her for Christmas. Evidently, sister wants to buy some. It's been over a decade since I actually bought a Christmas gift for anyone other than my children. Every single one has been handmade, but I guess she never noticed. Insert screaming here. Lucky for me and unlucky for her, the stones I used this year and last were all of that kind that I had. So even if I wanted to, I couldn't be suckered into making her a set. Not that I'll be willing to make her anything at all for a very long time, the ungrateful wench. In the comments, Moodiest Moody says, "Too bad humble pie isn't a dessert recipe. Yes, it's a real thing, but humble pie is meat organ-based, not sweet." And OP says, "As I understand it, humble pie is made of things the poor, the humble, would eat that rich people would not. I don't think my sister would get the message even if I included it." Thank you for the petty little story, OP. I loved that one. You got them back good. You did such a good job. And look at that, guys. Another example of someone using transparent communication, setting and maintaining those boundaries. And look at those kids doing that too. All of them piling into one car so they don't have to hear their mum complain and, scream the whole time. I love that for them. And how are the in-laws also making such terrible dinners all the time? Like, is it intentional at this point to get them the hell out? Does the real food just appear in the house after they've gotten all the vultures out? Regardless, they've got their own strategy to deal with that lot. You've got your own. Thank God the sister is so far away so she's not all up in your business, and thank you for the story. Am I overreacting? My girlfriend is wanting me to attend her work's corporate party as a +1, and I don't feel comfortable with it. My 31 male, girlfriend 27 female, of roughly 2.5 years' work, are planning their usual annual company Christmas party where employees and their partners and spouses, optional but supposedly preferred, are invited to attend for an overnight stay, meal, party, open bar, etc. I've never been to the previous events due to a work commitment last year, and the year prior we were still quite a new couple. She works for a large nationwide recruitment agency, and each year a different city office hosts, and those not from that region normally stay in a fancy hotel booked by the company. They're in the process of confirming the total number of guests, and she would like me to go. As a heads up, we are very open and communicative. She told me that prior to us dating, on her first work's Christmas party, after a few drinks, she went to an after-party in one of the guys' hotel rooms and engaged in a threesome with 2 dudes from her office as a bit of a bucket list experience. After thinking about it, I've said to her that I'd rather give it a miss, but I'm totally happy for her to go on her own. She's told me that it's important to her from a career perspective, as it's good for her image, to get to meet in person with people that she works with from other regions and can socialize with the senior management, and that nearly everyone from the work's partners attend. We have since been arguing all last week, and I've been accused of not supporting her career as I've never attended her previous work events, being immature and shaming her. I really honestly don't think any of this. It was something she'd done prior to meeting me. We do hold different views on sex, as for me it's always been something special, where she views sex as something that's just a bit of fun. This isn't an issue, and has actually been good for us, as we've learned a lot from each other. I'm even comfortable with the fact that she still works alongside these two guys. I know she had a lot more sexual partners than me, but as she's always viewed casual sex when she was single as a bit of fun, I know deep down that it wasn't meaningful. Accepting a sexual history is one thing. People are entitled to a sex life. I'm cool with that. The past is the past, but this feels different, as it feels like the present and socializing at the same party with my girlfriend and the two males that have been intimate with her is a different task. It makes me awkward and uncomfortable. I thought that it would be easier to say that I'm not attending. Having asked if others at her work knew, she said yes, as one or both of the guys did spread rumors afterwards, and also has been office banter and nicknames about it. She said that it doesn't bother her. She is confident and the type that would own it. The place gives me finance bro vibes. The thoughts of shaking hands, making small talk, and sharing a table for a meal with guys who have had sex with my girlfriend is difficult. For context, we're in a good place, but we rarely argue and have recently been talking about marriage, having kids, etc., and really have a great relationship all around and don't want to do anything that would harm her out of a relationship or career. I posted about my situation on another subreddit, but I feel like here might be more helpful for me. Am I overreacting? Turns out strangers on the internet are actually very helpful. In the comments, Merrily Dreaming says, "Honestly, I do think that this is something that you need to work through. Maybe you can avoid going this year, but if she stays with this company at some point, her fiancé or husband's refusal to ever go to a work event is going to impact her reputation. I think it's better for you to just get it over with and see that it's really something more that you've built up in your head. Perhaps it would help if you tried not thinking of it as socializing. These kinds of events are essentially mandatory for her, and your behavior or refusal to show up does reflect on her. She's not asking you to be best friends with these men. Just be polite in a professional setting for a short time." And OP replies, "Thanks for your response. I do understand not attending prior or future events as a spouse is bad for her reputation, although I feel like the previous were valid reasons. Her being honest about it is appreciated, but I'm just trying to get over the social awkwardness that I have built up in my head." Peanuts and Cheese 2021 says, "She was a consenting partner in that threesome. By being upset or unwilling to go to a place because of the other two partners, you are undermining her choice and agency as a person. What if you wanted her to attend a wedding where your ex was present? It's not the sexual partner, it's the fact that it was a threesome, and you guys are kinda making moral judgments, plus also afraid the two guys will think that they have something over on you. Is that correct?" And OP says, "Well, yeah, I'd say you're mostly right. However, it's not the act of her choosing to be a part of the threesome itself that I'm judging. She was single at that time. It's just more difficult because it was a threesome that there are just more numerically ex-sexual partners to be around that feels intimidating. I don't know if it's me feeling that they have something over me that makes me nervous. I can accept her past, and ultimately she's my girlfriend now. It's the attitude those two guys hold that could be a problem, as she's told that they spread gossip of her encounter to others in the company and use slut-shaming type nicknames for her when they think she's not around. I would feel uncomfortable and probably emasculated to hear that said about her whilst I was there." Physics Regular says, "She has a reputation at work. She says that it doesn't bother her, the rumors and teasing, but I have no doubt those rumors got back to upper management. She wants to network at these parties, but her reputation will follow her. It was fun for her, but was also stupid and lacked professionalism. It was a party, but also work. It was held by the company. You get dressed up, shake hands, smile, and make small talk with who's who, not fuck them. I've worked in those office settings before. Those rumors resurface every time there is a new event. She may want you there to help redo her image and reputation. Honestly, she needs to transfer or switch jobs and do better next time if she wants to move up the ladder. You say that you're okay with her past, and I think you want to be okay with it, but I don't think that you really are. Are there other areas where she exhibits impulsive, not really thinking about consequences type of behavior? If you aren't comfortable, you simply aren't comfortable. Especially walking into a party knowing that people know and talk about your girlfriend and her past. She may own it, but that doesn't mean that you have to. I understand why you don't want to go to this, but I still think you should go to it for her sake and just see what happens. I think this workplace culture that she's in is bad. It's not good for your mental health, and it's not good for her mental health, but I think the more wrong thing to do in this instance would be to not go. Have more conversations with your partner, decide what the best course of action is, and do what she recommends. And now, on to the update, 3 months later. Hi everyone. Since there was a few update me comments on the original post, and I had a bit of spare time, I thought I could provide an update on the situation I posted about a while back. First of all, I really appreciate all of the advice and feedback I received. Both positive and negative, it gave me a lot to think about. And it also gave me the ability to structure some important conversations between my girlfriend and I. To summarize the original post, my girlfriend and I have been together for nearly 3 years. She invited me to her company's annual getaway Christmas party this year, which would involve me needing to be socializing with coworkers, including 2 guys that she had a threesome with as a one-night stand before we were dating. I wasn't uncomfortable with her sexual history itself, but I felt awkward about attending the party and being in the same table/event with these guys, especially since they still sometimes joke about it and the use of what I considered disrespectful nicknames for her. On top of that, I was worried there was a possibility I could end up being the butt of these jokes too, which made the idea of attending feel even more uncomfortable. I initially declined to go, which led to some tension and an argument between us. One thing I just wanted to clarify based on some of the comments and DMs is that I'm not ashamed of her past at all. Before we started dating, I knew due to being a part of an overlapping social group, she had a sex-positive outlook, and she was open about the fact that she had been with around 50 guys. That was never an issue for me. We may well have different experiences, as I've only been with 3 long-term girlfriends prior, but it wasn't something that held me back from perusing and starting a relationship with her, and not something that has ever been an issue. What made the situation feel different was that I'd be in a room, possibly sat at the same table for dinner, with people who were still actively referencing that past experience. I've never had to deal with that face to face, and the idea of those same people making jokes with me in the room, or even about me, made the situation feel more socially uncomfortable. So, update. After some deep conversations and listening to each other's point of views, my girlfriend helped me understand her perspective more clearly. She expressed that being the only person from her office without a partner would make her feel awkward and isolated, and possibly lacking social support during the event. She was also surprised and somewhat upset when I changed my mind about attending, as it raised a small doubt that I was viewing this with the idea of shaming her. We also had a constructive conversation around her views on sex positivity. Her confidence in celebrating that part of her life has helped me have a different perspective. She reassured me that any teasing and nicknames at work don't bother her, so why should it bother me? Any terms like slut should not be seen as insults, but instead something to be proud of, and offer her an ability to own and reclaim a woman's sexuality without shame, especially since men involved in stuff like that are held to a different standard than her. If she can be proud of herself while confidently standing by her choices, then I realized I should wholeheartedly support that as well. Anyway, I've decided to go to the event. I still have some reservations, but I realize it's important to show my support in her work life. I trust her, and if she's comfortable in that environment, I want to be too. At the end of the day, I'm happy about how open and unapologetic she is about her views, and I don't want to let my discomfort, or something as trivial as the possibility of being the target of jokes, get in the way of supporting her fully. We've had some great discussions about careers, sex, relationships, women, and society that have only made our relationship stronger. Thanks again for all the advice. It's been a huge help. In the comments, Laximum Effort asks, what kind of assholes would talk about that encounter at work? If you're going to be with her long term, you'll need to be at these types of events. If those two make any comments, the easiest is to act like you didn't hear it. Any more of that, and you could quip about how she mentioned how shitty they were in bed, or say how you look forward to sharing this story with their next girlfriend. Whatever you do, you cannot appear like you were fazed by it. And OP replies, "From what I know, the company is very much a finance bro vibe, and these guys come across as bragging douchebags. But just because they view something like that this way doesn't mean that everyone else should. They should be held to the same standard as her for doing the same thing." And now on to update 2, 5 months after the original post. Now that I'm off work, and the various festivities and hangovers have finally gone, I've had a bit of time to process and write up an update about this work party that I had previously felt apprehensive about. After posting here, could I please state that, obviously, I appreciated any positive messages and DMs that have helped me. However, could the bombardment of negative DMs about my relationship please stop? Obviously, after talking to my partner, we decided that it would be good for us to attend the night as a couple. I've gotten over my own issues and mindsets. Any awkwardness is my own doing, and that her own past choices that she is happy with are not something that I, as a supportive partner, should be holding against her, or something that stops our relationship progressing. Anyway, the venue was pretty fancy, in a nice hotel, decked out for Christmas, with decent food, live music, and an open bar, which helped. To be honest, my work nights out are pretty low-key in comparison, and also was a good way to get a free meal and night away. Meeting her co-workers went about as well as could be. Since my girlfriend works in a company with different teams in different cities, the tables were arranged like this for the meal, so we ended up sitting with her team, including the 2 co-workers that I had been worried about. Most people were friendly and welcoming, although I do have to admit the company does have the finance bro vibe that I thought it would have. There is a lot of younger people on good salaries with large commission bonuses who I can see are quite competitive, and admittedly, that type of person and environment isn't my scene. I would find it pretty toxic, but I get that it's not my industry, and that's the way that these companies work. After the meal, we then moved on to the free bar for the evening for everyone else to mingle. One of the guys was surprisingly easy to get along with. He was with his partner, and he came across as genuine and didn't try to make anything awkward. He introduced himself politely, and afterwards chatted for 5 to 10 minutes at the bar with me about normal stuff like work and football. Nothing that would be uncomfortable for any of us, and honestly seemed like a decent guy. The other guy, I felt, was a different story. He wasn't rude or anything, but there was an energy about him that rubbed me the wrong way. He was there on his own, more happy to chat directly with those he already keeps company with, and had this cocky vibe. At one point, he did make a comment which could have been interpreted as a dig, but it was vague and wasn't something that I would justify a reply with if it was. The biggest thing for me was the people who said that I shouldn't go were wrong. I had this fear that we could be the target of jokes, or that people would see me as weak for being uncomfortable about the situation, but that didn't happen. Most people either didn't know or didn't care about any past, and if they did, were respectful enough to leave it alone. The advice I got here about showing up for your significant other and focusing on our relationship instead of what others might think turned out to be spot on. The only thing that really mattered was how she and I felt about the night, and she was over the moon that I was there. She told me afterward how much it meant to her not going on her own, and honestly, that made any awkwardness I felt totally worth it. In the comments, Creepy Old Guy 63 says, "It appears that you're starting to learn that the only opinion of you that matters is yours." And OP says, "Yeah, that's true." Tip of the hat to you. I would have skipped it, not gonna lie. She's concerned about her career, but she's having random threesomes at work. Interesting. And OP says, "Thanks, though the 2 things can be separate. Anyway, she was single at the time and open to express herself the way that she wants, but in the present, I'm her partner now, so should be supportive of what she needs supporting on." Do you think sleeping around at work is a very career-minded approach? I'm not judging her for sleeping with people when she was single. I'm giving her a side-eye because she's spinning a tale about how important it was for her career that you attended her work party. People who care about their career don't shit where they eat. You did nothing wrong. And OP says, I mean, if people want to hold something like that against her, then that's on them and shaming and not the view that we'd hold going forward. It was something outside of work time that hasn't had any impact on her career so far. Dude, don't make excuses for her. They have literally laws for things like this to shuttle your ass off if it gets discovered. It's the most unprofessional thing you can do, except maybe fucking a customer. And HR would have a good laugh about but it was outside of office hours defense. Just saying. Nobody who cares about their career will risk it, as it will not only get you fired, but also might even chase you to your next employment. She's either extremely impulsive, or she's dishonest about how much she cares for her career. Sorry, that's just her actions speaking, not me. That workplace just seems gross. Now, I'm no great looker, so it's hardly been an issue, but don't shit where you eat is like the #1 rule of workplaces. Hence why OP got a toxic vibe. Having been to many work conferences and summits, I can say honestly that many people ignore that rule when it's in another postcode. Fierce JPM Week is a healthcare and biotech week-long group of conferences in San Fran later this month. I've heard it called Just Pause Marriage Week because the amount of staff that step out on their partner is so common, at least in the company that I'm in. Though some of those biotech salespeople do have finance bro vibes too. His girlfriend is accepting some fucking low standards at work. I'm no prude, but I really don't think that I could spin being called a slut by a load of finance bros that I'd slept with into convincing myself that it was a compliment and empowering. It's just a sense of liberation I just don't get, to be honest. The threesome isn't an issue, it's the fact that it is still office fodder and brought up in how they discuss her and refer to her. It is so gross. Yeah, I don't understand. Why have sex with your coworkers when, you can have sex with other people that are not your coworkers? And then, doesn't she know that these are the kinds of people that are going to shame her like that at work and keep it going? I don't know why you would have sex with someone like that at work if you know that it's going to harm your reputation. It doesn't make any sense. There's just a lot of delusion going on in this story. I respect OP for going through with it. I respect OP for putting himself and his relationship first. That's all well and good. But there's just so many questions that need answering from the girlfriend here that I want. But unfortunately, I don't think we're going to get those answers. So, as always, thank you for the story, OP. That was a pretty good one, and I hope all goes well going forward. Our next post is by user AppropriateFood5858, and it's titled, Am I the asshole here for telling my sister's boyfriend that it's not his business if I don't want to be a stay-at-home mum? So I, female 22, have an older sister, female 28. She has 4 kids. And she loves being a mum and wants to be a stay-at-home mum, and I encourage her to do whatever she wants. She herself understands that I have no desire to be a mum right now, if not ever. I have 2 older sisters who are like me, who don't want to be a stay-at-home mother. This is important in the story. Her boyfriend, male 27, is mad at me because he asked me when I'm going to settle down and says that he can introduce me to his friend, male 25, who wants a stay-at-home wife. I told him no, that I don't want to date anyone this year, and he got mad at me for some reason and asked me why, so I told him that my ex-boyfriend left me with trust issues. My ex cheated on me for 6 months into a 3-year relationship. He told me we broke up in 2023 and that I should start getting back out there. And I told him that it's not his business and he dropped it. But 2 days ago, he asked me if I wanted to be a stay-at-home wife and mother. And I told him that no, I don't, and I'm not even sure if I want kids, or let alone be married. He got defensive since his mum was a stay-at-home mum and wife, and I told him that I don't see anything wrong with being a stay-at-home mum, but that I don't personally want to depend on a man for anything, and he once again got defensive and said that not all men are the same. I told him he was correct, but again, not all women want the same thing. And he said that my sister wants to be a stay-at-home wife and mum, and I told him congratulations on finding that with my sister, but that once again, I don't want to be a stay-at-home mum. He got mad because he overheard my conversation about me getting an IUD as well, and told me that I'm ruining God's plan to make me a mum one day, and I told him whether I want kids or not is not his business. He got mad at me and told me to get out of his home, so I did. My older sister is asking me to apologize to him and to not get an IUD since if I get pregnant, that it's God's plan. And she also told me that I should reconsider being a stay-at-home mum/wife. I told her not everyone has that dream, and she accused me of not respecting stay-at-home mothers and wives, which is nothing but lies. My other two older sisters are on my side and said my sister's boyfriend shouldn't be concerned with how I live my life, and that if I don't want to depend on anyone for the rest of my life, then that's my choice. He also said that I'm going to hell for being bisexual, so I screamed that I guess his girlfriend, my sister, is going to hell as well, because she's bisexual herself, which he already knows about. And now their friends are calling me an asshole, saying that he only cares about what I do with my body since it's God's body, and I should respect it and become a mum soon. So am I the asshole for telling my sister's boyfriend that it's not his business if I don't want to be a stay-at-home wife/mum? Edit to clarify, I did put this in some comments, but 3 of her 4 kids aren't even his. My sister has a 7, 4, 3, and soon-to-be newborn. Edit 2, I get asked this question a lot about why I was discussing getting an IUD with my sister's boyfriend. I wasn't discussing it to him. Me and my 3 sisters were all discussing it at his house, but he wasn't there. He walked in though when I said that I was thinking of getting an IUD, and that's when he butted into the conversation, and as soon as he said God's body and not my body, me and my 2 other sisters started talking to him about it, and he raised his voice, so I raised mine, and we eventually left since I don't like conflict at all. In the comments, Natural Inevitable 50 says, "This guy sounds like a creep. Who is he to dictate what you do with your life, your career, and your body? I hope your sister knows about this and supports you, not the asshole." And OP replies, "My sister who is with him wholeheartedly supports him and that I should be a stay-at-home mum. She wants me to apologize to keep the damn peace, but I told her that I'm done keeping the peace." He also supports the abortion ban, which is his opinion. I, on the other hand, am pro-choice. He wants a national abortion ban even for rape and incest, which makes me nervous to be in a room with him right now. She also supports this. Leela Lolly Love says, "Not the arsehole. His views on stay-at-home mums and traditional gender roles are his own, and he shouldn't be imposing them on you." Well, he's not really that traditional. He's not married to the mother of his child. People are traditional only when it's convenient to them. I don't think you're the asshole for telling him that it's not his business that you don't want to be a stay-at-home mom, because it's literally not. He's just being a sticky beak and imposing his worldview on you, which is wrong. Like, I didn't think that that was a touchy subject. I didn't think that that's something that people would be like, actually, you're an asshole for not agreeing to him. When he speaks, you should listen and nod your head. You arguing with him? That's not very ladylike of you, OP. That's not very traditional of you. You should agree with him. You're an asshole for disagreeing. Like, that's what it sounds like. Am I living in Crazy Town? Do people actually think that? Obviously not the asshole. And now, onto the update, 2 days later. So this is the update. I already knew that I was going to go no contact with her boyfriend, as I don't feel safe around him, but I went ahead and called my sister to tell her why I chose no contact with him. And she's now super mad at me, saying that I overreacted and all that fun stuff. So I asked her if they were going to apologize, and she said they don't owe me an apology, and in fact I owe him an apology. He overheard us on the phone, and once again got into the conversation, and I told him that I have nothing to say to him. He told me he wanted to know an answer to 2 of his questions. Why I don't want to be a stay-at-home mum. I told him that it's none of his business and to stay in his lane. And why I don't want to date and marry his friend. I told him that he isn't my type and never will be, and to not talk to me again. He told me if I don't stop overreacting, I won't have anything to do with my nephews and niece. And that, I'm not gonna lie, got to me. And I told him for my mental health, I'm done being/talking to him. And my sister said, okay, you made your choice, and we will make ours. So now I'm no contact with the both of them. Also found out, my dad found out yesterday and this morning after I was on the phone with them that he went and yelled at Josh and told him to back off, and that his daughter wasn't for sale or anything like that, and they got into a fist fight and apparently my dad won. I'm not totally sure about that though, and my dad called me and apologized and asked me personally why I don't want to be a stay-at-home mother, so I told him the reason, which had to do with my dad and stepmom, and he apologized to me, saying that he never meant to do that to her. He was very abusive to her. At one point, I saw him choke her and screamed, and he let her go but never apologized for it. So I decided to cut my sister and her boyfriend off, which sucked because I won't be able to see my niece and nephews anymore, but my mental health and physical health is more important to me, to be honest. In the comments, OP says, there is one more thing that was said that I forgot to mention. So in my last post about this, there were so many people telling me to ask him when he's going to marry my sister since they're not living in God's plan. So I asked him, and his response was, it's not my business to know. Which I said, then it's not his business to know anything about what I do with my body and who I date and all that. He got angry with me and proceeded to cuss me out, and I honestly just laughed. New Fishing says, so it's his business to know about yours. It's like he's trying to groom her to be a sister wife or a communal wife with his friend. Creepy. He probably promised his mate he can have the sister. Wait a second. So he's a traditional man who wants a traditional setup, and yet he's not married the OP sister yet? Like, marriage is the first step. What are you doing bringing all these bastards in the world, and god damn it, why are some women functioning on a single brain cell? Why don't you want to date my friend? Well, if he's willing to be friends with someone like you, there must be something very wrong with him. Dude, I don't understand all this stay-at-home mother stuff lately. It's 2024. Who can afford to support a family on a single income? I'm college educated, own a home and a car, and I struggle to support my dog and myself. I mean, I can do it, but adding in more people and mouths to feed? Yikes. Owning a home and a car in 2024? My god, look at Mr. Moneybags over here. Back in my day, I had to get up in the morning at 10 o'clock at night, half an hour before I went to bed, eat a lump of cold poison, work 29 hours a day down the mill, and pay the mill owner for permission to come to work, and when we got home, our dad would kill us and dance about in our graves singing hallelujah. And you try to tell the young people of today that, they won't believe you. And again, as hard as it is to go no contact with family, I understand that is a difficult thing to do. It's for the best to not be made into a sister wife, Jesus Christ. You will talk to your nieces and nephews in the future when they realize what a shit show their family is, and I'm sure they will be empathetic of you, OP. I'm sure they'll understand where you're coming from and why you had to be cut off. Anyway, all the best for you. That sounds like a terrible situation to have to deal with. I hope, she gets rid of him one day, but I don't think she will. It doesn't sound like it. Thank you for the story. Am I the asshole for skipping my friend's birthday without warning because his girlfriend calls me the typical girl best friend? So Miles and I have known each other since we were 2 because our parents are best friends. Now, I would not say that Miles is my best friend. He's a good friend, and we do hang out on occasion, but we see each other on all major holidays because of our parents. We are in our early 20s. The problem started because of a dumb childhood memory. When we were 8, we had a wedding play at the school aftercare. I played the bride and Miles the groom. It was a play with horrible songs and uncoordinated kids. Obviously, our parents made pictures and videos of that, and we each have one picture on our family picture walls. Miles is dating Lindy. They met 3 years ago and started dating last year. Lindy does not like me. So every time we coincide at a celebration, she makes a comment about me being the typical girl best friend. She one time said that I secretly wanted to sleep with Miles. I have no clue where she got that impression from. Miles and I have different friend groups and schedules. Besides the monthly catch-up over food, We didn't really meet that much. Things got worse when Lindy saw the wedding play picture. The comments just got more intense. She even started DMing me on Instagram saying that she knew what game I was playing. I talked to Miles once about this, and he told me to give her time. So his birthday was on Saturday, and I was invited. Lindy wrote to me saying something along the lines of that she was going to supervise me. This was their first birthday as a couple, and I was not allowed to take up his time. I was honestly just fed up. I tried talking to Miles once more, but he said the same thing. So I just skipped out. When the party started, I wrote a quick sorry I can't come and told him that my mother was going to bring his present. Now he's upset with me for missing his birthday. Lindy is mad that I made it all about myself, and my parents are upset that I missed a family function. Am I the asshole? Edit. I didn't show anyone the messages because I didn't want to make more out of this than it is. I didn't want to poison anyone against Lindy, especially not if she's a new fixture in Miles' life. That would make both of our lives more difficult. I hoped that just talking about it might be the more adult thing. My parents are not mad at me or blowing up my phone, a la Reddit fashion. They and Miles' parents were just bummed out that this was the first birthday that I ever missed. As to why she is jealous, I have no idea. Neither of our parents ever wanted us to get together. There were no jokes or anything about it. I think they also never would want that. The wedding play picture is in the living room because they loved the picture and it was our first play. In the comments, Kiwi Honey says, "Not the asshole. Miles' girlfriend is insanely insecure and jealous of you. You've tried talking to Miles about it, and he won't do anything about it. You're basically getting threatening messages from her at this point. Of course you don't want to be around her. Your parents should understand that their relationship with Miles' parents is just that, their relationship. It's not a family function, however much they wish it to be. The onus shouldn't fall on you to maintain a friendship with Miles if it isn't working for you under the current circumstances. I do hope the two of you can work things out since you've been friends for so long, but you don't have to if it doesn't work for you, and you don't need to feel guilty about it." Edited to add, OP refers to Miles as a friend throughout and uses quotes when she writes family function at the end of her post and said that they see each other on holidays, etc. because of their parents. This leads me to think that OP does not consider Miles family, nor his birthday a family function herself. She also talks about how the parents consider this a family unit. She never said that she considered them a family unit. That's the reason for my last paragraph. Context matters. I'm not suggesting that family has to be related by blood. I love my family of choice. No one should be coerced to maintain any relationship that doesn't work for them. Parker Anonymous replies, OP should also show the messages to her parents and Miles and let those messages do the talking instead of trying to explain it herself. Why is it okay to take crap just because you know them? I can never understand that mentality. Good on OP for not going to the party and giving the girlfriend a chance to insult OP more. Yes, this was my thought too. Share the messages and let her defend herself. I suspect Miles has been telling himself that OP is just upset because Lindy is a little bit uncomfortable and standoffish with her. If I were OP, I would have sent him a screenshot of every text she sent me, and I would have done it right after the first one came in. Made sure that he knew he was sticking his ding-a-ling in crazy. I would also tell him her harassment is not okay. Tell him to tell her, please stop messaging and harassing you. Yeah, like I can understand why OP didn't share the messages, because you're like, man, I just want to sit this one out. I don't want to have to deal with any of this. Can't they just see where I'm coming from? And yeah, I'd say most of the time you can get away with that, but for some reason your parents think that this is a whole family thing. So now unfortunately the onus is on you to explain yourself and explain what's going on with her. So this really is just a lot more work than it should be. You shouldn't have to be doing all of this extra bullshit to prove to them why you don't want to come. They should just take your word for it. But unfortunately, sometimes the receipts do gotta come out, and I want you to show them the receipts, OP, not the asshole. And now, onto the update. After my post, I talked to Miles. At first, he was kind of mad and thought that I'd been blowing things out of proportion. Some more details are in my last post. We came to the conclusion of giving each other more distance while he figures things out, mainly because I didn't want to add to the stress of petty drama. Then I talked to my parents and explained to them what was going on. They were really upset by how Lindy treated me. Obviously, they weren't going to get involved, but it was nice to get that off my chest. And then, nothing else happened. Until Tuesday evening. Wednesday was a holiday, so some of my friends took the opportunity to go to an Irish pub to do karaoke. At some point, my best friend and I went to pee and touch up our makeup. Then Lindy and some of her friends walked in and kind of cornered us. It wasn't pretty. They started loudly talking about man-stealing bitches and how some women were just born to be homewreckers. And imagine being pathetic enough to pretend to be a guy's friend to fuck him, and how pick-me's are the worst. They kept kind of edging us physically into the part where the hand dryers were while pretending we were not there. Until my best friend had enough and just pushed through them while pulling me behind her. We were almost at our table when Lindy went right behind me and pulled my hair so that I fell backwards onto like a metallic piece where you're supposed to put your feet on. It hurt so bad that I started to see white, and then a girl next to Lindy poured beer on me. I can't really tell you what happened, but there was a scuffle and someone dropped one of those heavy pint glasses on my head. The Lindys were taken away by police and I was taken to the hospital. My parents were furious, as were Miles' parents. They both came to the hospital. I was severely concussed, my nose was fractured, and the worst thing is that I have a hairline fracture in my back. I stayed in the hospital till yesterday morning. Miles did try calling me a bunch. According to my parents, they told him not to visit me right now. I did get an official notice saying that apparently there was now a legal case open against Lindy and one other girl for not only assault, but also public disturbance in the bar. So now I'll have to deal with all of that legally. I finally talked to Miles and, long story short, those of you saying Lindy was isolating him and that was a sign that he was in an abusive relationship were right. He told me all these things that she said to him to make him feel awful. She would freak out about anything in her life and take that out on him. She would scratch him and bite him when she was mad. Our talk ended with both of us crying and apologizing. We will be closer again. At least we can talk about these things more often. He broke up with her and is hiding at my parents' house. So that's it for now. Now on to the next update, 3 months later. I'll update immediately and go into details later. There's been an official court date set for my process against Lindy. It took 2 months to get and is another 3 months out, but something is something. Our lawyer said that Lindy's probably not going to go to jail as she's a first-time offender. If she goes to jail, it would be no more than 3 months. Most likely, she's going to have to pay a fee of 100 days of her income or something like that. I have let my father deal with this 100% because I have no head for it. There is a second lawsuit going on at the same time, as now I'm legally chronically ill. The hairline fracture was not a passing thing, but developed. I am in pain daily. Not every day is bad, but not a day passes where I'm not in at least a 2 on the pain scale. As a result, I've not been able to work. Right now, my insurance pays 75% of my former income, and my workplace covers the rest, but I'm probably going to get fired. So, my insurance filed a claim against Lindy to pay my lost wages. Right now, I'm not in contact with Miles. I tried to be supportive, but being disabled by his jealous ex-girlfriend made me bitter against him. He was a victim, but now I can't live my life, and I blame him partly for that. I'm in therapy to work through all of that and have taken up some new hobbies. I've started to write more and am looking into courses or online classes. Miles' parents have been apologetic and have supported me a lot. His mother has been a saint. She volunteered to drive me everywhere, and I've actually become friends with her. We even went to see Deadpool and Wolverine. She's a stay-at-home wife, so we have a lot of time. One of Lindy's friends reached out through my lawyer, offering a testimony against her own friend. She also sent a letter apologizing. To make a long story short, Lindy had told them that I was bullying her and that Miles had once already cheated on her with me. So that's where we're at right now. Take care and shield your back. And now for the third update. Hey everyone. So here we are again. And yeah, things have moved along, but honestly, I'm just tired. The first court date? It came and went. It was my insurance company versus Lindy, and surprise, surprise, she lost. She's on the hook for most of my lost wages, which is nice, I guess. I didn't have to be there the whole time, which I was grateful for, because I've had enough of this mess. As for the criminal case, well, we don't even know if we'll end up going to court for that one. My lawyer is handling it, and I've handed the reins over to my dad, because honestly, I've had it. I'm no legal expert, and after that insurance loss, Lindy is in a bad spot. Her legal team is apparently scrambling to do some serious damage control, but at this point, that's not my problem. More of Lindy's friends have crawled out of their hidey holes to give testimony. Turns out this wasn't her first rodeo. Another girl came forward with evidence of Lindy pulling similar stunts back in high school. This poor girl was just sitting next to Lindy's then boyfriend, being a normal human, and Lindy went off the rails, starting rumors and spreading literal breadcrumbs on her table to trigger her celiac disease. Yeah, she's kind of a psycho. No one could prove it at the time, but now, with all of these friends popping up, it's all come to light, and believe me, these girls didn't have some moral epiphany. They're just terrified of getting fired or having anything negative pop up in their records. The receipts are coming out, and it's getting uglier by the day. Now let's talk about Miles, because that's a whole other dumpster fire. I'm still not speaking to him. Turns out he's known for a while that Lindy was threatening him with bad things if he didn't cut me off and make his parents stop talking to me. And this idiot laughed it off. Thought she meant breaking up with him or something, but no. She was dead serious. Even started stalking me and one of his cousins. She made some fake profile and was sending cryptic messages to his cousin. What did Miles do? Talked her down. Yeah, that's it. She kept giving him ultimatums, and he just rolled with it. So yeah, I'm even angrier at him now. He knew that she was unhinged and didn't do a damn thing about it. He let her spiral while I got dragged through the mud. His dad finally got involved and dragged him to the police, where they filed reports about all the crap that Lindy pulled. They have evidence now from the stuff with his cousin, and even photos from when Lindy got physical with him. So at least something is happening on that front, but it's too little too late if you ask me. As for Lindy, well, she's gone radio silent, except for TikTok, of course. My friend keeps sending me her cringy videos, and it's honestly kind of disturbing. She's acting like nothing's happening, like her whole life isn't unraveling. She's got a new boyfriend now, and they're making those awful lip-sync videos together. I think she's living at his place, but who knows? Maybe her parents cut her off. I wouldn't be surprised. Oh, and the guy? Yeah, one of my friends looked him up. Let's just say he fits right into her pattern. As my grandma would say, there's a lid for every pot. On the health front, still nothing good to report. My pain hasn't improved, and I'm now waiting for a surgery appointment, which looks like it'll be early 2025. The pain is radiating to my left hip now, which is just great. I feel like that sad little dog from the Black Cauldron. But hey, silver lining, I've made friends with a few of the nurses who work with me. One of them braids my hair, which is kind of sweet. I'm also seeing a physiotherapist regularly, mostly for massages at this point. It helps, but some days I feel like I'm just patching myself together with duct tape. The therapist suggested that I start doing pool exercises, so now I'm in an aqua aerobics class for seniors. No, there isn't a disability-specific class in my town, and frankly, I didn't feel like looking too hard. The old ladies are a riot, though. Well, except for one who always looks miserable, but honestly, I'm not one to talk. One piece of good news: I finally got approved for a wheelchair, so at least I can go out with my friends without feeling like my body is falling apart after an hour. I've also been taking a few university courses for fun and playing way too much Fallout. So there's that. And that's where we are. I'm still a mess, but I'm just doing what I can to get through it. Thanks for sticking around, I guess. Now for the final update, 5 months later. Hi everyone. Things have finally settled enough for me to share an update. The court case is over. Lindy was sentenced to actual prison time, and none of it is suspended. She also has to pay restitution for my medical expenses, lost wages, and pain and suffering. The court didn't miss a thing. They went through all of the evidence, the testimonies, and even the messages, and it was clear who was at fault. I cannot tell you how much of a relief it is. During the trial, Lindy claimed that I had been bullying her and that I planned the pub incident to ambush her in the bathroom where there were no cameras. She said that I struck first. 2 of her friends backed her up, but the third one, who was also a part of the attack, ended up telling the truth to avoid harsher punishment. It was obvious their stories didn't line up, and when the outside CCTV footage and witnesses from the pub were brought in, her whole narrative fell apart. The court didn't buy it, especially with all of the messages that Lindy had sent me before the incident. She couldn't explain why someone supposedly bullying her would also be the one receiving threats from her. It also came out that Lindy and her new boyfriend had been intimidating witnesses. He even messaged me on Instagram trying to get me to say something incriminating or admit to something that I didn't do. At first I didn't realize who it was, so I replied briefly, but once I figured it out, I stopped immediately. Thankfully, I had already handed over everything to my lawyer, so it was documented. Watching her lawyer try to frame her actions as acting out under stress while knowing she was tampering with the case was surreal. There was a moment outside the courtroom where my parents and Lindy's parents talked. It wasn't an argument, but it was uncomfortable. My parents pointed out how everything presented in court made it clear what Lindy had done. Lindy's parents didn't argue back, but they seemed completely out of their depth. They mentioned being shocked by how much she had escalated things and admitted they hadn't understood how serious it was. They've taken on the financial burden of her restitution, which means I know the money for everything will come through. It's hard to say if they're doing it out of guilt or for protecting their image, but either way, it is one less thing for me to worry about. Adjusting to my new normal has been a mixed bag. The chronic pain is still there, and my surgery isn't happening for a few more months. I've also been dealing with the endless back and forth of German bureaucracy. My insurance keeps sending letters asking, "Hey, you still disabled?" As if chronic pain and an unhealed fracture would magically fix themselves. Every time I think I'm done explaining my situation, they send me another form to fill out. It's exhausting, but my doctors have been really supportive and always help me get the paperwork sorted. Some days are harder than others, and there are moments when I feel sad about how much my life has changed. A few months ago, I was stuck in that sadness, angry all the time and constantly thinking about how unfair this all is. I think I was grieving the life I thought I would have. Now though, I've accepted that this is my life, and even if I never fully heal, I know I'll manage. I'm not letting Lindy take up any more space in my head than she already has. I've started focusing on things that make me happy again. My friends and I started a Dungeons & Dragons campaign, and they come over to my place to play. They're so patient when I need breaks or when the pain gets bad. Through that group, I met someone. At first, I was nervous about getting close to him because I thought that he might see my situation as too much to deal with, but he's been amazing. He drives me to appointments, brings me groceries once a week, and has never made me feel like a burden. I'm falling in love with him, and for the first time in a while, I feel hopeful. I've also been keeping my mind busy with the courses and finally rewatching all of How I Met Your Mother. Sometimes I catch myself comparing my old life to this one, and it makes me sad, but I don't stay in that feeling as long as I used to. I've started finding a balance between moving forward and letting myself feel everything that comes with this new chapter. I've distanced myself from Miles' parents. They were wonderful to me, but I realized that he needs their support now more than I do, and it should be undivided. I still don't know if I can forgive him. To this day, I haven't. Thank you to everyone who has supported me through all of this. It has been a long road, but I finally feel like I'm on the other side of it. Take care of yourselves and hold on to the people who make your life lighter. They make all the difference. In the comments, Overall Search 3207 says, "This is one of those situations that really highlights that while people can be victims, you're also not obligated to be the one to support them. Miles was totally a victim and truly deserves love and support here, but due to OP suffering so much as a result of his choices, not shaming him for dating Lindy, but OP wasn't the one who brought her into the situation, there's no real way she could be expected to even have sympathy for the guy. He deserves sympathy 100%, but it's also unreasonable to expect OP to be the one to provide it." My god, yes. There was a post where OP had offered her sister support to leave an abusive relationship, and the sister refused for years. And then suddenly, when OP's life was quite busy and stressful, the sister insisted that OP help her, financially, with shelter and the emotional trauma. But when OP couldn't provide those things, the sister had an issue. The comments were absolutely baffling on that post. I can truly empathize with Miles, but I also understand OP distancing herself from him for herself. This type of situation is traumatizing for everyone, and being around anyone you have negative feelings over is not worth it until you can process and heal from those feelings. I hope OP can regain some normalcy, and all the best on her healing journey. I also hope that Miles gets the support and therapy that he needs. It feels like people swung hard from the idea of, it's a personal problem, it's not my business, to, if I don't set myself on fire for a DV victim, I'm just an enabler. Neither mindset is healthy at all. The middle ground often gets lost on Reddit. GDrum123 says, "I'm glad OP got her justice. Lindy and her cronies deserve to have their lives destroyed, just as they did to OP." Well, that's not even justice, considering she's going to live the rest of her life with pain, not being able to do the things she used to, and the abusive pig and her friends are going to be able to act like nothing ever happened at some point. Even if she's in prison for a bit, she'll get out, and if her parents are paying for the damages, she's not even going to have to deal with those expenses. She's going to be able to go to work, go out dancing with her disgusting friends, trap a new guy, and do all of the things she did before, and probably laugh about how OP is still in pain and will be forever because of her. I think that in cases like this, when their actions have permanent, life-altering consequences for someone, they should face consequences that last just as long. Having to pay constant support, enough to fully cover all life expenses, including medical and housing, to the person who can no longer work or provide for themselves due to their actions, as a minimum. If they try to get out in any way, like refusing to get a job or getting a low-paying one and letting mummy and daddy pay their expenses so they can continue their own lavish lifestyle while providing nothing for their victim, prison. Or being surgically disabled in the same way that they disabled their victim without any medical coverage or care provided. It isn't fair that eventually she is going to be able to live her life like she did nothing when OP's life is permanently altered by her actions. She and the squealing hogs she surrounded herself with should all have to pay for what they did, just as long as OP has to. I was with them until the surgically disabling someone bit. That's a bridge too far, Jesus. But I do agree, there should be more than what we do to these people when they intentionally go out of their way and physically disable you permanently. I feel like that's why we see a lot of vigilante justice playing out in the world, because the courts aren't going to do it. People will take matters into their own hands. And yeah, I don't think that retribution should be the number one goal of a criminal justice system. That's just going to cause an eye for an eye everywhere. Though I agree, whatever consequences she has dealt with as a result of disabling OP and needing to be in a wheelchair for the rest of her life, it should be 10 times what she's faced. Like, there should be some real justice there. I'm so sorry, OP, that this has happened to you and you're having to live your life as a result of all of these things. That's just life sometimes, and unfortunately life is very much unfair. I do wonder if I myself were in your shoes, what I would do to get back at a person like that, regardless of how the court system works, of how the justice system would view me as a result of that. But hey, I'm lucky that I'm not in that situation right now, and I feel incredibly sad that this has all happened to you, OP. I hope things get better for you in some way going forward. Thank you for sharing your incredibly touching story with us. Am I the asshole for telling my sister that I won't be her surrogate? I, Celeste, 30 female, have an identical twin sister, we'll call her Stacy for the sake of the story. Our mother unfortunately passed in child labor, and we were raised by our father. Stacy has been married to Jeff for 8 years, and I have been in a relationship with Mike for 3 years now. One thing I've always known about my sister is that she wanted to be a mom. Even when we were children, she was always thinking about wedding ideas, nursery themes, baby names, etc. I was always more focused on books and having fun. I am now a flight attendant, and I'm also attempting to become a published author. My sister has not worked, ever, honestly. When we graduated high school, we went straight to college. She met her boyfriend in college, and once she graduated, became a stay-at-home girlfriend until she became his wife. I have known for a while that my sister has been attempting to become pregnant unsuccessfully. She has experienced a single miscarriage and has been unable to become pregnant again after thousands and thousands of dollars being spent on IVF and pretty much anything they could do because she wanted to experience pregnancy. After 5 years of no success, they have started to discuss other options. My sister isn't interested in adoption and is very adamant on having a child that has both of their DNA. Her words, not mine. About 3 weeks ago, she came to my house and we were hanging out as we usually do, just chatting and watching Modern Family. She told me she had a serious question and needed to ask me while she still had her nerves. It scared me, but she asked if I could be her surrogate. I was frozen for a second and asked what she meant. She told me that I know what a surrogate was. She needed me to be her surrogate. I expressed that she knew that I wasn't interested in having children. This could definitely be due to how we came into the world, but I'll be honest and say that I've never found the thought of having children appealing in any way. I told her that I would have 0 issues with donating my eggs to her, however many she needed, she could have them all, but I could not carry her child. Upon hearing that, she became so angry. Her face was so red, and she was just yelling about how it's obvious how jealous and hateful I am because this is a small task. I didn't want to bring it to her attention that she always spoke about having more than 4 kids. Would the expectation be for me to do this every time? I don't know. I'm starting to feel bad. She ended up telling me that if I couldn't do this one thing for her, how could I ever call myself her sister? She broke a picture of us that I have sitting on my mantle and stormed out. Since then, she's only texted me pictures of her diaries from when we were kids, and all of their vision boards, saying that I'm stopping her from creating a family for no reason and to think about the bigger picture. My boyfriend refuses to give me advice, saying that it's my sister, and he doesn't feel comfortable attempting to sway me in either direction because it's such a touchy subject. Honestly, this is the longest I've gone without communicating with my sister, and I'm seriously on the verge of giving in. Edit. I'm reading all the comments, and I want to say thank you so much. I feel so much better knowing that I'm not the villain, but I would be lying if I said I'm not leaning towards just doing it. This disconnect with my sister brings me immense discomfort in ways that I cannot verbally express. But I see 2 frequent questions, and I want to answer to hopefully get different answers. On money, my mother did not die of natural causes. It was provider error. My father sued the hospital, and my sister and I have sizable trusts with that money. So money is not an issue for either of us, and her husband is financially well off as well. So not working for 9 months, or paying for the egg retrieval process, etc., isn't an issue in any way. It's more so her stubbornness for the baby to share our DNA and for one of us to be carrying it. Since we're identical, if she can't have a baby, then how can I? Her lack of being able to have a child is due to a car accident that we were in, which is also the source of the miscarriage she experienced. Due to her being in the front seat with our father, they took the brunt of the crash, unfortunately. Her body is now unable to carry a child, and she has had extreme complications with egg retrieval. I'm not sure about the details of how that has gone wrong, just that it's not working and not an option. It's hard to get her to discuss non-viable options, so I can gain a better understanding. Doctors will not allow me to be a surrogate due to me not having a child. Thank you so much for this information. We have family dinner this upcoming Thursday because we always watch football with our dads and significant others. I'm sure this topic will come up if she decides to attend. I'm hoping I can bring this up to her. In the comments, DuckDuckGoose1 says, most doctors would refuse to allow you to be a surrogate as you've not previously had children. She'll be hard-pressed to find one that would. Not to mention that she's asking her sister to sacrifice her body and potentially her life to fulfill her dream. That's not fair at all. If she can afford IVF, she can afford a surrogate. Not the arsehole. Sir HP replies, I'd also add that her losing her temper in this way screams that she's not stable enough to enter this sort of relationship with. Not the arsehole. Delta Diva says, she did it to manipulate her sister. If she has a kid, she'll manipulate its whole life to match her vision boards. And Seductive Norma says, not the arsehole. You are not the arsehole for refusing to be a surrogate for your sister. It's your body, and you have the right to decide what you do with it. Your sister's reaction is unreasonable and manipulative, and you shouldn't feel pressured into doing something that you're not comfortable with. Yeah, I don't understand why she's so steadfast on having OP specifically be the surrogate. Like, just get your eggs, or get OP's eggs, and the father's sperm, and put it in someone else. That someone else is not going to manipulate the DNA of that child. At this point, the sister is crazy and delusional to me. And if I was OP, stay the hell away from that and use whatever excuse necessary to get her off your ass. Because yeah, once you give her an inch, she will force you to give her a mile. Like, you think it's gonna stop at one kid? You think that's a good idea to just start that entire process? Absolutely not. Not the arsehole OP. And now, onto the update 2 days later. So, I promised an update tomorrow, but my dad actually ended up calling me while I was hanging out and told me to come out for dinner yesterday night so we could talk. I want to start by saying thank you so much for the comments and advice. Some of you were jerks to not only me, but my sister and boyfriend as well. I still appreciate the help. I didn't even ask about what when my dad called. I figured that he had spoken to Stacy. Based on comments, I know you guys won't be happy, but I spoke with my boyfriend about where his head was if we were going to go forward with it. He told me that he loved me and would support me through any and everything, but he would not continue to sit by while my sister made me feel like trash, and if I was doing this under coercion, he would not be able to support me, which I honestly completely understand. When we went over to my dad's for dinner, my sister and brother-in-law were already there. I spoke to them both when we walked in, but only my sister replied. My brother-in-law gave me the most disgusting look and greeted my boyfriend only. My dad sat us down at the table, and there was just this awkward silence and tension that I could cut with a butcher knife. He said, "Somebody talk. We need to get this resolved before the game tomorrow night." My dad loves football. I started off the conversation by telling her that I did some research, and on top of my initial concerns, I now had a few more and needed to know exactly what she needed from me. I first asked her what being a surrogate would look like, and she just said, "Are you agreeing to it?" When I told her no, I just needed more details, she broke down crying. I asked her if she knew that a doctor would deny me from being a surrogate, given that I've never successfully carried a child to term, and she said she knew that, and she would just send my brother-in-law and I to a center of excellence. We can pretend we're a couple, and once I'm successfully inseminated, then I would request a transfer from that provider to her OBGYN for the continuation of care. Wow, that sounds like such a good idea. Wow, they're so smart. My father intervened and said that asking me to do something a doctor wouldn't sign off on was a terrible way to attempt to begin motherhood. You could tell that he wasn't on board with any of it, but didn't want to pick a side. He asked her why she was so uncomfortable with the idea of a surrogate, and that's when my brother-in-law interjected and said, "Don't try to berate my wife with these stupid questions. Talk to your selfish bitch of a daughter about why she can't help her sister." That immediately shifted the mood. My boyfriend started to yell at him for calling me a bitch, my dad told him that he could not disrespect his daughters in his home, and everything just went up in flames. My sister was crying, asking me to do her this favor, practically begging. I told her that if I could trade places with her, I would. But I was scared and just didn't want to die. I think that was the first time that I'd said that out loud ever. We couldn't get more solved after that, and my dad asked my brother-in-law to leave because he couldn't control himself and refused to apologize. When he was walking out, my sister told him that she would meet him in the car, asked me to come and talk to her on the porch, just the two of us. I went out with her, and she apologized for her husband calling me a bitch, said that they were just on edge and that it's been stressful. I told her that she shouldn't apologize for him and that we would figure something out. She asked me to reconsider and just kept saying, "You don't get it. You don't understand." When I pressured her for more, she admitted that her in-laws made a cruel joke at one of their dinners recently about how she was a murderer, referring to the child that she lost. She said she asked him why he didn't stand up for her when they made the joke, and he said because it was true. He made some weird comments about her not being able to make up for it, and how he was so excited to see what their child would look like, and how he would never be able to look into a child and see pieces of them both. So she had the idea of me carrying the child, and he was super on board. But the way she said it was like he planted a seed, and she seems to believe that it was her idea. She said she hadn't seen him that excited since the baby, and she just needed my help to get everything back to normal. I tried to explain to her that nothing would ever be normal again, and that what she was trying to do was the wrong thing. But he just started blaring the horn, rushing her to the car, and she said she would call me later. I feel like I may lose my sister, but I now am not even willing to donate my eggs for her to have a baby with him. I took your guys' advice and looked up the egg donation process and, wow, not at all what I expected. I want her to divorce him. I'm never going to help her procreate with that man. I genuinely think I'd be a surrogate for her to be a single mom before I would ever allow her to place his child in me or take my eggs to even create a child with him. I had no clue that his family was pushing so much guilt onto her. I have literally been jumping at my phone every time it rings because I know she'll be calling soon and I'll have to tell her that. I'm terrified that I'll lose my sister, but I can't and won't do this. Probably won't update anymore, but thanks for all the help. I'll probably create my own Reddit now because I'm obsessed with this site. In the comments, Dimirag says, "What a manipulative bastard he is. Your sister should divorce and stay away from her in-laws. No wonder that man is that way. He needs therapy ASAP." Boeing367 says, "OP showing some healthy backbone, about which there was some doubt in the first post. Assuming this is real, it's a super stressful situation, but she appears to be rising to the occasion. Assholes seems like an inadequate word to describe sister's husband and his family." Wow. Can't believe her own husband called her a murderer for having a miscarriage. I hope she wakes up from the brainwashing. And now on to the next update, which was posted 6 days later. I know I said that I wouldn't update anymore, but so much has happened, and I can't explain the weird relief I feel typing my madness onto this website. My friend did say that I could just have this Reddit page, which relieves so much stress, because Lord knows that I wouldn't have made one if I had to do it myself. I had to watch a YouTube on how to properly use this site and what some of the things mean because people kept commenting that I was karma farming. That's neither here nor there. On to the update. A lot of you suggested that I be more careful around my brother-in-law for fear that he would become more violent. I did not listen, and I kick myself now for not doing so. I thought I knew my family well enough, and this was just a bump in the road. How extremely naive of me. My sister called me back the next morning, the day after he called me a bitch, and I unfortunately missed the call because I was in the shower. When I called back, no answer. It was a normal day until we got to my father's house that night for football. Kickoff had just happened when my sister walked in. She asked my dad if he could come outside and talk to her husband, and my dad said no because the game was on, and he could either wait until the commercial break, or he could come in and apologize like a man in front of everyone who witnessed him disrespect me. She took a breath and told him how he wasn't being completely fair. She tried to bring up a previous situation drawing likeness, and it infuriated my father. He told her how he didn't raise her to make herself small and weak for a man, and said that whatever he did that made her think this is how you have a healthy relationship, he was sorry for failing her as a father. Her eyes started to water, and she just stormed out without another word. When I went out to my car after the game was over, I had 2 flat tires and a broken passenger front window. My dad put 2 donuts on the car, used his truck to tow the car into his garage, and told me to take his other vehicle and he would get the car fixed and I could come and get it whenever I had time, but not to worry. He asked if I wanted to stay the night and I declined. I called my sister and she didn't answer, so I texted her and said a lot, but for the sake of some of it staying private, it was just I can't believe this is where we are. Loving a man should never call for destroying your family in the process. She responded by saying, "That's the problem. My family is already destroyed, and you aren't willing to help me put it together." I again tried to call her after that, and there was no answer. On the drive home, I noticed a car following me. When I was able to get a better view, I realized it was my sister's mother-in-law's car. I know this only because she has a very distinct car decal that I have literally never seen anywhere else. I freaked out and called my boyfriend, asking him to meet me back at my place. When I pulled up at home into the driveway, the car pulled in behind me. Luckily, my boyfriend was turning down the street. By the time my brother-in-law got out of his mum's car and tried to walk to me, my boyfriend was running out of his car yelling at him. Jeremiah immediately started yelling, "I just wanted to apologize! I just wanted to apologize!" Him and my boyfriend got into a small scuffle before he got into his mum's car and sped off. He did hit my boyfriend's car in the process. It didn't appear to be intentional, and his car is still drivable. After this, I obviously didn't feel too comfortable at home anymore. I packed a bag and went to my boyfriend's house, and I haven't really been back home since. My dad did add a camera and floodlights to the back door and driveway, but I'm honestly not too sure I want to go back, although I know I will have to at some point. Yes, I reached out to my sister. No, she did not answer or respond at all that night or the day following. After that, I would notice that on one day, a red car would be following me, the next a black one. I know you may say that I was scared and just thinking people were following me, but I would notice them, begin to drive to the police station per instruction from my dad, just for them to turn once the station was in sight. On Sunday, I went to brunch with a few friends to celebrate one's upcoming wedding and discuss bridal shower details. The waiter came to me and told me my husband was up front and that it was an emergency. Thinking it was my boyfriend and she was just mistaken, I go up to find my brother-in-law. I approached him in an attempt to not make a scene, speaking low, asking him to leave or I would call my dad. He told me that everything just went too far and he just wanted to apologize. We were kind of in the doorway and it was just awkward people funneling in saying excuse me, so I suggested we step to get out of the way. When we went outside, he apologized for calling me a bitch and said he didn't feel that way. He told me that I didn't understand how hard it was for him, and I cut him off there saying how hard it was for him didn't matter to me because his behavior was becoming too chaotic and abusive to not only my sister but everyone else. He told me that he understood how I could feel like that, but asked me to again reconsider. He reached for my stomach, and I instantly stepped back and told him that he needed to leave, and we could set up a time to talk with my dad, but him stalking me was an issue, and we could talk later, or I would call the police. He grabbed a fistful of my hair as I was walking back into the restaurant saying, "Don't you fucking walk away from me!" Honestly, I don't remember much after that. Everything just went really quickly, and a few bystanders got involved. He ended up fleeing before the cops could come, and a report was filed. 2 days ago, he tried to come up to my airport terminal, telling them he was my husband and there was an emergency, same bullshit he pulled at the restaurant. He was arrested after refusing to leave. He was of course bailed out and has since taken to messaging me the most vile messages. My sister did leave after the show he put on at my job. She's currently staying with our dad, but has been asking me to drop the charges, making excuses for him, and has been very adamant that he didn't tip me at the restaurant despite my literal scalp bleeding because of how hard he yanked my hair and the small scratches that I have on my neck and arms from him continuing to escalate aggressively when strangers tried to help. Some of the texts are him telling me the vile things he's going to do to me, how he'll get me pregnant and I'll be stuck with him for the rest of my life, how he knows that I'm the woman who is going to bring him a son, and if I don't make it easy for him, we'll both die before he gives up. Just really concerning. I blocked his number, so all of these are coming from random text now apps. I told the police, and they said there's no way to prove that it's actually him, so until he acts on it, nothing can be done. I am literally scared all the time. My boyfriend drives me to work, and on top of the regular precautions, I take more now, and I can barely sleep. I send my sister a screenshot every time her husband messages me, and she has taken to no longer interacting. My dad has asked me to stop doing this because it's beating her down, but I told him that I can't believe that she defended him during some of this, and she needs to see the harassment that her husband is committing. I feel defeated. I don't even know if me and my sister can come back from this. I feel like I've basically taken over my boyfriend's life, and I feel terrible about it. He hasn't said anything, but his regular gym visits are cut sometimes if he has to pick me up or drop me off when I have to go to work or go anywhere else because I'm scared. Being gone for a day due to flights, I know allows him to do more of his routine, but now we're basically forced to live together, which I enjoy, but I'm not sure that he does. We got into an argument the other day about the AC temperature. I feel like my life is slowly devolving into madness, and I can't breathe. In the comments, Actual Apartment 4368 says, I would unblock him and silence his number so you don't get notifications. That way the police would know that he's the one sending messages if he uses his number again. And for your sister, your relationship will never be the same again. Even if you find your way back to each other, it will still be different. And even though your father is helping you, if he says something again about messaging your sister that her husband is writing to you, make him remember that your brother-in-law actually threatened to rape you and your sister is still with him, a potential rapist. I wouldn't even say potential. This is a future rapist. He is completely unhinged. You're so right. OP should unblock and mute his number. I wonder if a lawyer would consult with her on actions that she can take to make a legal paper trail. Cops will still likely not intervene until he causes physical harm, even with threats. I agree with absolutely everything you said. Quite literally took the words out of my mouth. Your brother-in-law is stalking you, and his delusion is that you will have his baby. Let that sink in, because it's time for no contact. I don't know for how long, but long as it takes. Your brother-in-law is violent, abusive, and delusional. Your sister is beat down because her husband wants her sister to have his baby and is stalking her like an episode of You. You can't reason with violent and delusional. And now, onto the new final update. This has been absolutely insane, but Reddit has a place in my heart forever. I'm going to shorten this as much as I can. If you have questions, I'll answer a few when and if I can. My boyfriend realized I was looking into apartments. I absolutely was going to temporarily rent an apartment like an idiot, and asked me why. I told him that I felt like he wanted his space to himself, and he proposed. I'm literally engaged. Now I feel a lot better about taking over his apartment. I posted in the advice Reddit explaining that my brother was escalating. He approached me in a grocery store. I unfortunately did not do well with standing up for myself there. Not my best moment. He broke into my home, did some damage in my bedroom, and broke a few things in my kitchen that he knows I love. Mugs and espresso machine. No, I wasn't there, and yes, cameras were installed after. I took a leave of absence from work. Basically stayed holed up in my fiancé's, holy crap, apartment. My sister has been ignoring my texts and not engaging with me until I got a random call. When I answered, she was on the phone sobbing. I asked her what was wrong, thinking something happened to our dad. She explained that she had been following her husband and she knew he was following me. She said she was telling me because she went to the police and they explained they were sending someone out to talk to me. We sat on the phone for 5 hours. She explained that after the hair pulling incident, her light bulb went off and she went into PI mode. Explained that it got to the point where she was concerned for my safety, which is why she made the decision to go to the police. She apologized for putting so much pressure on me. She said that while she would like to blame it on her husband, a tiny piece of her was actually shocked I said no. She explained that the DNA aspect doesn't matter to her. It was my brother-in-law that insisted on that, and she just wanted her family to be whole. She will be staying at my home with me, just temporarily until the divorce is final and the dust has settled. I'm sure he won't make the divorce easy, but they do have a prenup, so it shouldn't be too difficult. What do I know? I'm not married. Yet. Sorry, I'm literally so excited. Sidebar, I did find out after my father slipped and shared that my sister actually had proof that her husband burglarized my home. She apparently held on to the information because she needed to decide the right thing to do. She said that when she told him that, he told her that she didn't have a choice and he made her go immediately. She apparently didn't put up much of a fight. My dad said that he feels like she just needed someone to actually say it to her for her to get it. But I'm not 100% how I feel about this. I'm happy that she made the right decision in the end. The police came to my fiancé's apartment the next day. They took my statement and explained to me that they wanted to simply have an agent patrol me for a day in an unmarked car, and if he followed me, he would be arrested. They didn't inform me of what car was following me, but did say that it would be happening immediately, so if I felt like I was being followed, not to panic basically. He was literally caught within 2 hours of me leaving my fiancé's apartment. We went on a date, and literally as we pulled into the third location, he was pulled over and arrested. I drank more margaritas than I should have that night at the restaurant. The detective did tell me that I would be getting a call from the DA's office, which I assume will be tomorrow. Honestly, based on how this has all gone, I doubt they'll hold him accountable much, but I'm hoping that with them having his phone, there is physical proof that he was sending me the texts, which will add to his punishment. I appreciate everyone who told me to get a gun. I'm actually terrified of guns. A kid from my high school was playing with a gun and killed himself mistakenly. No, it wasn't in school or anything crazy like that. It was at home. But when we heard about it, it reinforced my fear of guns. No guns for me. But I did buy bear spray and a knife. I have my first flight back at work this week, and I'm so excited to be back to my regularly scheduled program. Today's football games were amazing, and I was able to watch them with my sister, my dad, and my fiancé. I hope I don't have another reason to update this ever. Thank you all so much. In the comments, HideMe21 says, "Do not stay with your sister. Do not let her stay with you. Do not trust her to not let him tape you. Do not believe that she won't help him. I could be wrong, but it's not worth the risk." I don't trust the sister at all. I foresee a couple of drinks, a little drop, and a Rosemary's Baby situation. She better watch her back. Mimic Creates Magic says, "I might be a bad person for saying this, but the further I read, the more I lost sympathy for OP's sister. Like, how could you jeopardize your own sister's safety for a man? I hate how it's always the women in these kinds of stories who lose their common sense when it comes to love. Rarely have I read about a man being so intentionally blind for the woman that they love that they put their family at risk. Even after having her sister physically assaulted, OP's sister's insistence that her abusive asshole husband is innocent? I would literally cut ties if that was my sister. Just because she was a victim of abuse doesn't mean she gets to make other people the victim of her husband's abuse. You're not a bad person for thinking that. That's a main point of the story. OP's sister is a bad person. Maybe not on purpose, and maybe she was manipulated into her initial actions, but she 100% committed to her stance and continued to try and manipulate, coerce, guilt, and bully OP to have her baby. She even admitted that she didn't really care about the whole shared DNA thing, which was a big part of her argument. She didn't care about OP's bodily autonomy, didn't even consider trying to hear her reasoning for not wanting to go through with it, didn't care about OP's fear of dying, even though it's from trauma that they both have. Wanted to straight up commit fraud to accomplish her goals, places blame on OP for her husband's actions, refused to hear how they were wrong, and protected her husband in every possible way, even after following and confronting his stalking and harassment of OP, right up until the dad found out and made her go to the police. She is a weak, horrible human who was willing to completely risk destroying, if not ending OP's life, just so that she could have her happy little family, along with her abusive, potential future rapist of a husband. Am I the asshole here for not dropping out of a house party despite it making my ex's new fiancé uncomfortable? My ex, 27 male, and I, 26 female, split 2 years ago. We met through my best friend, who worked in the same theater as him then, and the reason we broke up was because he didn't think that we were working out anymore. It was pretty amicable, I didn't put up a fight or anything, but I strongly believed there was no reason for us to be friends anymore. That always causes problems. But I'm still friendly with his friends, and I make small chat if I run into his parents. We live in a pretty close-knit environment. Don't ask me how. We live in a city, but most of my friends and his come from either the same university, or have a common hobby, or we roam around the same circles, and we definitely see each other once or twice every couple of months. My ex has a fiancé now, and I'm happy for them. I have never met her, and until now, I thought this didn't matter or anything. We are all adults, or so I thought. One of his closest friends, Peter, just bought a house. I am friends with his girlfriend, and we are both invited to the housewarming. I didn't think anything of it. However, my ex texted me yesterday, after like a year, albeit very politely, that maybe I could skip the housewarming as he was bringing his fiancée and she will feel uncomfortable. I was pretty weirded out by his wording, so I called him, and he said his fiancé feels uncomfortable that I would be anywhere close to him, and the fact that they both feel like I sometimes intrude into their social gatherings just to prove that I'm better than her to his friends. I got pretty mad hearing him say these things, and I asked him in what way. We are not friends, and I stopped hanging out with his friends the moment that we broke up to not make things difficult for him. There were a lot of people in his circle that I became close to, but I stepped away just so that things weren't awkward for any future partner. And how was it my fault? My ex explained 2 of his friends didn't like or respect his girlfriend and thought of her as an airhead, and so did his parents. Our circles are, I admit, full of literature and theater people, and I admit that some of them can be pretentious. Again, I told him that was him being a spineless boyfriend and not my problem. I told my ex strongly that both Peter and his girlfriend are my friends, and I would be going to their housewarming, and his relationship issues are not my problem. I have blocked him now, and his fiancée sent a long text on how she was sorry, but now I was apparently being vindictive, and how did it matter if I didn't go to a housewarming? She asked me to not make any drama and please respect her. I didn't reply and blocked her. My friends are pissed at my ex, and I haven't told my friend or Peter any of it yet. I think maybe I could have handled it any other way. Am I the asshole here? OP gives context on her relationship to Peter and his girlfriend. Peter's girlfriend and I have been friends for a long time. We were even roommates for 8 months. Technically, I'm a closer friend to Peter than my ex is, even though they are college friends, because of his fiancé's antics, and Pete and another one of his closest friends are drifting away from my ex because he insists on bringing her everywhere and they don't like her. Out of all of my ex's friends, it's only Pete that I'm close to, mainly because of his girlfriend. Plus, his girlfriend and Pete met through me, so I'm a very close part of their friend group. Which is why I was pissed at my ex, because I can understand if he was telling me to skip his best friend's party. Telling me to skip one of my closest friends' housewarming for his fiancée, who people don't like there, sounded so stupid. In the comments, I Know Somethings Too says, not the asshole, but you should tell Peter and his girlfriend. Your ex and his fiancée are dicks. It's not your job to manage their emotions or insecurities. If she's uncomfortable, then she should stay home. Fry1 Fat Manic says, I agree. Peter should be told before the ex has a chance to spin this and make OP the bad guy. OP replies, Peter is one of those people who doesn't like her. Our circle is mainly filled with people who mix within a certain type of bookish thinking. Plus, Peter and another one of my ex's friends think she is an anti-intellectual. Most of my ex's friends are like that. Theatre people, or really pretentious assholes. Peter doesn't like her more because he thinks my ex was stupid to break up with me and couldn't handle it if I was doing better than him. Their friendship is already on thin ice, and I don't want to be the reason that it breaks. I was apparently being vindictive, and how did it matter if I didn't go to a housewarming? Call me a cynic, but the fiancé is being vindictive, and how does it matter if she or your dickhead ex don't go to a housewarming? Terra Alpaca says, unblock her and text her back, your insecurities are not my problem to fix. If the housewarming isn't that important, then you and ex are welcome to sit this one out. I will be celebrating my friend's next step into the future with them, and then block her. And Fresh Caramel says, not the arsehole. You handled everything fine. This is their issue, not yours. Anytime you're at the same location as them, obviously avoid them at all costs. And I would really minimize speaking about them at all. The more you can firmly say, I don't talk or think about you, the better. Oh, and the irony. Everything she said to you goes right back at her. You've done nothing in this scenario. It is your ex's request that is creating the drama. Yeah, I'm very much on board with that one here. I don't know why the ex is so insecure in this situation, because it seems like you know the ex's partner quite well. I really feel like he's lying about how much of an impact your presence at the party would have. It just doesn't make sense that you could be roommates with them for 8 months. You not saying anything like, I had a bad relationship with Peter's girlfriend. Like, none of that happened. If you were living together for 8 months, why would they be uncomfortable with seeing you? Maybe they need to get over themselves, not the asshole. And now, onto the update, 9 days later. Thank you for all the lovely suggestions in my previous post, which is why I'm doing an update. I did go to the party. Honestly, after reading that yes, my ex had in fact lost his mind, I decided to not bother Peter or his girlfriend, who is my friend, and just go and mind my business. It's not like my ex and his fiancé would come and scream the house down on seeing me. Again, I guess I didn't mention in my last post, and the reason I was more mad at my ex was because I have a very serious boyfriend. The idea that my ex-fiancés would think that I'd go anywhere to spite my ex, despite having a boyfriend, was really insulting. We went to the housewarming, and I ignored them. I don't care. We are all adults, and I'm not going to fuel drama. And my ex and his fiancé, her especially, made a fool of themselves. And at some point, even I felt bad because I saw how desperate she was for my ex's friends to respect her or take any one of her sentences seriously. Whoever she tried to talk to ignored her or straight up walked away. Again, Peter and my ex's friends are a different group, and I'm not friends with them. But the way that my ex let his friends treat his fiancé made my blood boil. I mostly hung out with my friends, Peter's girlfriend's friend group, and I didn't speak or look at my ex once. One time he said hi, and my boyfriend said hello back, and we didn't see him near us for the rest of the night. His fiancé just asked me if my dress wasn't a bit too modest, and Peter told her that everyone there followed the dress code, casual elegant. Don't ask me, I didn't make the rules. But she didn't. My boyfriend already loathes my ex, so we didn't mingle near them again. Overall, I had a good time. We even got to leave early and have some time to ourselves, watched a movie, and had a good time at home. However, what pissed me off was how much of a shitty fiancé he was, and how much his fiancée was trying to fit in and failing, and he wouldn't even help her. My boyfriend isn't just a bookish person, and he doesn't fit in with some pretentious people either, and he is very blunt, so some people don't like him. Plus, he loves video games and comics, and has hobbies like trekking and diving, which scare me. But we compromise and learn to adjust to each other's interests. Plus, if someone treats my boyfriend even a little like how they treat my ex's fiancé, I would cut them off. no questions asked. And I'm already low contact with a few friends who judged and made comments about him in the past. I really hope that she leaves him. If she has any dignity or he gets his shit together, all in all, not my problem. In the comments, Pristine Armadillo 12 says, something about the first story and the modest dressed comment has me thinking the new fiancé was an affair partner and she's always been insecure about OP. She's been competing with you longer than you realize, probably. Hill Mickelson says, I agree with you. It seems like that girl was the affair partner of OP's ex-fiancé. That would definitely explain the competition, insecurity, why his friends treat her so badly, and why his parents don't like her. It would also explain why he doesn't respect or try to protect her. Why would he take someone with no morals seriously? I bet OP's ex-fiancé's friends and parents like OP more, and the girls in the group are probably making that girl's life hard out of fear that she'll go after their boyfriends, just like she did with OP's ex. OP, keep your distance from them. They don't deserve even a minute of your time. Surround Miserable says, you handled this perfectly. Part of me felt like she didn't want you there because she didn't want the reality check, because she now had the opportunity to see how you interact with people, how your boyfriend interacts with you, and how people interact with her boyfriend, and the paradox between your situation and her situation. It's a shame that you blocked them because I imagine if there were messages in backlash to your success versus hers, they would have been glorious to read. But importantly, you don't care. In fact, you have empathy for her. That's great. Shows how beautifully you've grown over 2 years. And OP, in response to a downvoted comment that claimed she hadn't gotten over her ex, says, wow, because having empathy if a person, no matter how they act, is being treated poorly means that I've not moved on? Caring about how others are being treated doesn't always come with ulterior motives, and my being mad at my ex for being a shit human being towards his fiancé has nothing to do with my non-existent feelings for him, but everything to do with being uncomfortable with another woman being insulted in front of you. Yeah, it really kind of feels like the ex is offloading, the faults in his engagement on the fact that OP is there. I don't want everyone to see how shitty this engagement is. I don't want them to see my mistakes by having OP there and pointing out how bad of a person me and my new fiancé are. I can see why the new fiancé is so insecure. I can see why she's struggling. And it sucks that OP's ex-boyfriend won't help her out in that situation. It doesn't even seem like he likes her that much. I really just don't see that relationship surviving at all. That was one of the more interesting reads of today, so thank you for that one, OP. All the best. High school really never ends for some people.